Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Rabbi 9 now in the battle for first place. Barkley! Does he have another one? Yes, he does. Touchdown.
Force 1440 and the Oilers Nation YouTube channel.
Waiting. McDavid. It's a three.
A little extra brass bonanza for you on a positive Friday. How are you? Welcome to the Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook and X. Of course, sports1440.ca. And as always, presented by playalberta.ca, where you can get into Lotto Max $65 million tonight. Good luck. Just remember our deal. It's Positive Friday. If you win, you invite us to have a party. If we win, we'll have multiple parties, invite many of our listeners. So we'll be loads of fun. So hope you are having a wonderful day. Order fans. It was a little bit dicey, but the win and the 1,000 point, you got both last night. And really, you had a double dose of fitting. Nurse to Draisaitl to McDavid on 1,000 point. Draisaitl, McDavid to Nurse on the game winner. Three guys who basically broke in at the same time and have become very good friends off the ice for the past decade. And they all combine on both goals. The building was buzzing every time McDavid had the puck in the first period. Like, he almost scored in his first shift, for goodness sakes. And just couldn't, not really a wraparound, but almost had it. And that was obviously would have been an ideal start, I think, for the fans and the Oilers. But you had to wait a little bit. I guess anticipation always makes things better sometimes. And then the Oilers, had the game for long stretches. They were the better team again, but their lack or inability to finish right now is still a little concern. We'll get to that from Connor McDavid in a sec. We'll hear from Draisaitl, Nurse, and McDavid some short snippets on their thoughts of last night. McDavid even admitted that, you know what, he's just a little bit more emotional, as it should be, man. It's a big deal, right? Like, 1,000 points is not easy. There's only 99 players who've ever done it. There's only 3 who've ever done it quicker than McDavid. And so it's a pretty big moment. He's 98 games faster than Crosby. He's 189 games faster than Malkin. He's 221 games faster than Ovechkin. Like, it's nuts. It's truly nuts. And, Nathan McKinnon might be able to catch Malkin. We'll see. This season is his quest for 1,000 points. But, the Oilers got to be pretty happy overall with their defensive play, the shot suppression. It's unfortunate for Pickard. First shot of the game goes in, but it's a high slot deflection. Like, he had no chance on that. And, the second one, would you like a save there? Yeah, probably. It's fourth liner coming in on a breakaway. Definitely don't want to give it the breakaway, though. And I'm sure Pickard would tell you, hey, in an ideal world, he'd like to make that save. But I'm sure Wedgwood would say, hey, Darnell Nurse saw an opening and ripped it short side. But, and nowadays, that's how goalies play a lot of times. Now, when a guy's on his forehand, probably shouldn't be going down that early. when guys are on their backhand from that angle, you do see goalies go down into the RVH a lot quicker. But Nurse saw the opening, ripped it short side top shelf. 3-point night. Nurse is now one back of Jari Kurri for third for the most overtime goals in the Oilers franchise. McDavid and Draisaitl are tied for first. And I know it's not popular for some people, but Darnell Nurse has been really good here for the last 10 games for the Edmonton Oilers. Look at a lot of his numbers. Just look how he's playing. Him and Brett Kulak. They've been excellent. And the Oilers, there's lots of positives. There's more positives than negatives. They do definitely need some more scoring from some other forwards. They got to finish. You can get a lot of chances, but you got to finish more, right? They need more finish from Skinner. They need more finish from Hyman. They need more finish from Nugent Hopkins. No question. Podkolzin and go down the list. So good news for the Oilers. They've reeled off 3 consecutive wins and find themselves in a playoff spot as they head out Eastern Canada for a 3-game road trip. They'll be in Toronto tomorrow. No Austin Matthews in that game. Then they will be in Montreal on Monday. And the Canadiens, they are bad defensively. Really bad. And then next Tuesday, they're in Ottawa. The Senators have been playing pretty well. They, you know what? Hey, look at their every now and then a goalie's going to have a tough night. Allmark last night gave up 5 goals and like 19 shots. That's it. And a few of them were just like squeakers right through them. It's going to happen. Even to guys making $8 million. But, the Senators are a pesky team. They're right there, 1 point back of the Bruins, tied with Tampa and Buffalo in the ultra tight Atlantic Division. So, win 2 out of 3, good road trip. Obviously, if you can go 2-0-1, much better. Perfect. Would be 3-0. Always hard to do when it's 3 games in 4 nights. So we shall see what happens. Victor Arvidsson is expected to play tomorrow in Toronto. It was a travel day today for the Edmonton Oilers, so no media availability, anything like that. You'll find out tomorrow at the morning skate for certain if Arvidsson's going to go, but his head coach was pretty confident yesterday that we thought Victor Arvidsson would be back in the lineup for Saturday's tilt. And the Oilers, you got to take advantage. When another team is missing one of their better players, if not their best player, you got to find a way to win. So no Austin Matthews again for Toronto. You're the Oilers. You go in there, find a way to win. They're feeling better about themselves. They still got a lot of Ontario guys. So it's always a big deal there. Guaranteed. Also today, a big weekend in sports, actually. If you're a boxing fan, I don't know. Like, do you have any interest in the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight? Other than sheer Jake Paul seems like a douche, so I want to see him get his face punched in. Like, I don't know. Is there any other angle that you're like, oh, I'm really interested? Because from a pure boxing standpoint, come on. You got a guy who isn't a boxer against a 58-year-old boxer. Now, I know boxing's a sport where we've seen lots of people, box into their 40s, sometimes even early 50, but, Tyson hasn't boxed for a long time. If the adage is your power is the last to go, then yeah, he should win. I believe if they were truly going to box, Tyson would win. Not sold. To me, is this going to be real? How hard? Because you can make it look like you're punching, but you're not really punching. So I don't trust it. And Jake Paul, I don't know if he's on the Barry Bonds training in my mid-30s routine, because he's sure a hell of a lot puffier than he was a few years ago. That's not natural puffiness, if you know what I'm saying. Looks like he's taking syringes to the rear end on a regular basis or whatever, some other, enhancement, whatever it's going to be, because I just Googled some pictures of Jake Paul and you look from the year to year, and honestly, and then you go look at Barry Bonds and go look at Barry Bonds, 34, 35 Barry Bonds compared to 28, 29, 30 Barry Bonds. It ain't close, right? Like, look at Jake Paul's head. Look at his neck. Look at everywhere about him. Like, it reeks of roids. It just does. So, I don't know. It's Cons, will you actually watch that tonight?
Well, you said boxing fans, will you watch it? I am not going to say I'm a boxing fan. I'm an extreme casual. When the big names show up, I tune in, usually with friends. Not enough to get the pay-per-view by myself. This is free on Netflix on a Friday night. Of course, I'm going to watch it. I am fired up for this one.
Okay.
Because I don't know what it's going to be. Like, the uncertainty around it is just like, could you see, just with the history of Logan Paul's fights, this being drawn out and, decision at the end, and we get controversy, and that's what they want? Like, I could see it. But for that small chance that Mike Tyson knocks him out, I'm watching it. Just in case, like, Iron Mike snaps and we see it. Like you said, Declan said it, power's the last thing to go. just for that opportunity to see him put Jake Paul down, I'm here for it. I admire Jake Paul for what he's done. The empire he's built, he's not appealing to me, but I respect the grind. But if Mike Tyson can drop him, that would be it for me. I'd be fired up.
Yeah, Tyson is he's the underdog, actually. So I play Alberta.ca, so
plus 180.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't think I can watch the highlights and know what I need to know. I just don't think I can. I can't pull myself to watch it, the full thing. I just can't do it. The thing that probably intrigues me the most, because anybody who remembered Mike Tyson in his prime, like Mike Tyson when he used to enter, like I think he won some fights just in his entrance. Remember when he had anybody who's old enough to remember it? And Cons, I don't know, you probably weren't watching vintage Mike Tyson, were you?
Only YouTube highlights.
Yeah.
Never live.
So he used to wear like that. It looked like he had like a black bear rug. And he would wear that to the ring, and God, he looked intimidating. And you show some of the highlights of his fights. Like he was an absolute thrasher in his early 20s. Like he would just pummel people so fast, so quick. And that's where I'm like, I get these 58, but you don't just lose all your ability. Anybody out there played in a rec league game with a former NHLer who was pretty good? Joe Newendike came out with us, and we played, and Joe was 53, I think, when he played with us. And so we had one deal. We said, Joe, one shifted period, you have to show that you're an NHLer. And he's like, okay. And I remember you could tell every shift, and all of a sudden he'd cut down really low, he'd wheel up, and you could hear his skates. And I remember, because I still talk to Gager about this, Joe Newendike came from the blue line and just ripped, because Joe Newendike had a sick shot. And he let one fly, and he ripped it over Gager's shoulder, top shelf. And now Gager's a former NHL goalie. Now he joked, he goes, well, it wasn't really set. But Joe Newendike could absolutely fire missiles. And I'm telling you, you're just like, all right, okay, this guy might be 53, but he is still in a different level. And there was guys who played junior and other players, but it's a big difference. And so to me, Mike Tyson might not be as quick, but if he decides to, this should be done in one round. If he truly decides to. So we'll see. Also, if you're a UFC fighter, John Jones, defending his heavyweight title. We'll get Declan on later to touch on that. I'm rather intrigued by that card, to be honest. Well, specifically, hey, I don't know. There's just something about that, the heavyweights in boxing and MMA. Just obviously they have more striking power, and the ability for a pretty big knockout is always there, right? John Jones, hey, they're trying to hype it up yesterday. He's getting all upset about him. Yeah, you call me the B word and whatever, and Stipe's like, well, not really. Here's how it was said, and away we go. But you got that tomorrow night. You got the Oilers in Toronto on Saturday. By the way, it's an early game. 5 o'clock Edmonton time for those of you who are interested in watching it. So we'll see. I'm curious. 833-401-1440. We'll talk about the Tyson fight. Also, Connor McDavid. I want to get to Connor McDavid right off the hop here. Here was McDavid post game when I asked him just how fitting that 1,000 point was, coming on assists from two of his best friends on the team.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing the way the players react, and that means the world to me. It means everything to me. To see my teammates happy, and to hear the fans, that stuff means more to me than any of the numbers or anything like that. So it was just a really special moment, honestly. And these milestones, I said the other day, are a great time to reflect and a great time to look back. And it's been a good 10 years, and hopefully 10 more good ones.
Even more special, the fact that it's Leo and Darnell on your 1,000 and in overtime.
Yeah. It's funny how it works out like that. I remember my 100 point in the COVID year or whatever, when both of them assisted on that as well, or both of them were in on it as well. So it's kind of funny how it works out that way sometimes. And pretty special that it comes from Leo, and obviously there's Darnell makes a great play on it too. Some of these things have kind of hit me a little bit more emotionally than I would have thought. You spend your whole life playing hockey and loving the game, and just wanted to play and make the NHL. And 1,000 points later, been doing it for 10 years now. It's pretty special. You take it for granted sometimes, and as I said, these moments give you a chance to look back and be grateful.
Well, there you have it, Connor McDavid. 1,000 point, as he alluded to at one time. I don't score on those very often. A great pass to Darnell Nurse. Nurse had a great game. Like, if that's any other game, Darnell Nurse the first star of the game. But it's 1,000 points, so they gave McDavid first, second, and third. Like, come on, read the room. Have McDavid, Nurse, and Draisaitl as the 3 stars. They combined on the 2 goals together, all good buddies. McDavid would have loved that. You trot out Draisaitl 3rd star, Nurse 2nd star, McDavid 1st star. But I think that would have been even better, to be honest. And you could argue that they deserve it. But either way, the Oilers get a win. They continue to defeat the Nashville Predators. It's just how it is. 2 more points for McDavid, 2 more for Draisaitl. Nurse, even in his last 14 games now, 13 games. He has 14 points. And if you're anybody who's got some offensive ability against Nashville lately, you're pretty much a point-a-game player for the Edmonton Oilers. It's kind of crazy in that regard. So they'll go into Toronto against an Austin Matthews Leafs and have a chance to win. We'll see how it goes. Also, today, it's Positive Friday, and we have a loge table for 4 to see the boss, Bruce Springsteen. We'll auction that off for charity today. 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440. Like, these are great seats. You can't, now I've noticed we went online. There's a few tickets available, but none in the loge, and definitely not 4 together. So if you're a big Springsteen fan and you want to go, 833-401-1440, text in your name. I guess, just with your name. Obviously, we'll have your number when you text in, and away you go. And Justin opens it up at 500, and we're off and going. So,
there goes Declan's bid.
Declan had 4, and Justin is up to 5. So there we go.
Global Well Servicing in Drayton Valley. Great. Shout
go.
out to them for the donation.
All right. Also, the other thing is it's they're 2-minute rounds, not 3. And they're using 14-ounce gloves instead of 10. So not ideal. Blake is up to $750 now on the Springsteen. This is the boss. I was looking it up, but man, he hasn't been here in like 20 years in Edmonton. And so I think safe to say might be the last time you ever get to see him live in Edmonton. So pretty great seats. The tournament. The concert is next Tuesday, in case you're wondering. So you have some time to plan, and you want to plan out, go for dinner. It can be a great event if you're a fan of Springsteen. 833-401-1440. These are great seats, and obviously well below face value right now at $750, but we got a lot of time. 833-401-1440. When we return, Larry Murphy kicking off the show with us today. That's fantastic. Of course, Hall of Famer, member of the 1,000 Point Club. We have Lorianne Munzer, Olympic gold medalist. Farhan Lalji will be by. We'll talk Grey Cup. The Elks. Could we see Morris, Hervey, Campbell? Very possible. Speck and Button. Jamie McLennan will be by. Lowetide. So we got a loaded show. The 2-minute warning with Cam Tate, and also your text 833-401-1440 in our email inbox. We'll return with Larry Murphy next on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling jingle auditions, take 1 for Gene Principe. Are you ready, Gene?
Ready? I'm not just here to make a thermo a couple of bucks. I'd never just microphone it in.
Take 1.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Nice.
Boom! I'm a musical genius.
Legacy's going to love this for furnace season.
What's not to love with no interest and no Principe payments for 1 year?
Are you always like this?
Yep. Unlike a furnace, I have no filter.
Legacy Heating and Cooling.
In 1973, deep in the basement of an Edmonton family home, an elite team of specialized forces came together to form Action Electrical.
Action Electrical Divisions, assemble! Projects team reporting.
Service team reporting.
Testing team reporting.
Energy team reporting. Supercharged with skills in their electrical fields and grounded by strong family values. Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
And beautiful. What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction in sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton.
I couldn't ignore it. Everyone kept saying, "You look so tired."
Are you getting enough sleep, dear?
Hon, you look like you need some rest.
But I'm not tired. I guess I just look that way.
But you don't have to. I'm Dr. Vance Elliott, and I provide skin-refreshing treatments designed to give you a fresh and natural appearance. Don't worry, we won't drastically change how you look, but we will help you look as energetic as you feel. Book your consultation today at drvanceelliott.com.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
Need a solid foundation without the fuss? Richard and Kalina at DCL Pile Driving have your back. Locally owned, they offer straight, driven piles. No screwing around. Serving all of Alberta, DCL Pile Driving gets your foundation ready in hours with minimal ground disturbance. Perfect for tight spaces, whether it's for a deck, grain bins, or RTMs. Tell them the radio sent you and receive a special discounted rate. Call or text 587-322-PILE. DCL Pile Driving. Don't get screwed. Get piles driven.
When it comes to your health, trust Dr. Bryce Henderson for expert care in hip and knee replacements. With years of experience and advanced techniques, Dr. Henderson helps you regain your mobility and quality of life.
Your health is my priority. Let's get you back to doing what you love.
Put your health in the hands of a trusted expert. Book your consultation with Dr. Henderson today. Visit vitalsurgicalspecialist.ca or call 587-391-7864.
First of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. May the better team win, and may you eat the better pizza. Order an extra large New York style one-topping pizza for only $17.99 today at papajohns.ca.
Welcome back. Positive Friday. How are you, Jason Gregor? Connor Halley, and we are up to $1,000. Is that right, Cons? I think we're up to 1,000 on the.
Yeah, we are.
All right, so nice. I like that. 1,000 coming in from Edge Equipment. Awesome. So 4 seats at the Lowe's table. Fantastic. So we always like to get face value, which I think we will. It's all for charity. 833-401-1440. So thank you very much. Now, let's get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by the Spruce Grove Saints. Of course, they are in action. And of course, when they are in action for all their home games, did you know that they have the ongoing 50-50? So even if you're not at the game, you can get involved. And it's very simple. All you have to do is go to saints5050.com. And it's a great way to support the local team. And, you like your luck. 50-50s in Alberta, they're pretty popular. So you can get in yours on the Saints game at saints5050.com. That's very simple. And a 50-50 is obviously a numerical, just in case anybody's wondering. You're not spelling it out. So there you go. So you can get in right now, and you have 6 hours remaining. 6 hours and a half, essentially. So you can get in. They're taking on Salmon Arm. Now, we are joined by a gentleman who is a 4-time Stanley Cup winner. He is also in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's the 5th highest scoring defenseman of all time with 1,217 points. He won back-to-back cups with the Penguins in 91 and 92, and then went back-to-back with the Red Wings in 97 and 98. Larry Murphy joins us. Larry, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Good, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'm in Anaheim right now, so enjoying the weather. The Wings are playing the Ducks this evening, so getting out of Detroit and that chilly 40-plus degrees here to the 70 degrees has been pleasant, to say the least.
Oh, I would think so. Larry, you broke into the NHL in 1980, 1981, which would have been Wayne Gretzky's second year. You played, against Mario Lemieux. You played with Mario Lemieux. The Red Wings had some of the greatest players ever on that team. You played against a lot of the great players, and you were a great player yourself, Hall of Famer, 1,200-plus point guy. When you look at Connor McDavid and you see 1,000 points, the 4th fastest ever, and 100 games quicker than Sidney Crosby. So I always like to try to compare guys to their era. What do you make about McDavid, and what impresses you most, knowing how hard it is to dominate in the NHL?
Well, I think my observation of Connor McDavid's probably pretty consistent with most people in the National Hockey League that have had the good fortune to watch him play. Just a guy, a finisher. And that's obviously being a finisher is obviously job number one if you're going to put big numbers. He's argumentally the best player in the National Hockey League today. Just an exciting force on the ice, tremendous speed, that extra gear that he has that makes it exciting to watch. So for him, it's just a case of the points are going to pile up, and then you just kind of you look at the stat sheet and you kind of add up where he's at, and no surprise. I mean, talk about a story that I would say I just kind of skimmed over was Connor McDavid has 1,000 points because you knew the day was coming. The interesting part, of course, he was the 4th fastest, and he did it quicker than Sidney Crosby, but. It's just, I think that, those numbers are just going to continue to fall. He's got a lot of hockey ahead of him. It's the exciting thing is to see where he ends up at the end of all this and how he fits in with all the greats. He's obviously going to be included in that class. So yeah, any opportunity I get to watch the guy play, I take advantage of it.
Yeah. And like you said, and it's too early to say where he's going to rate because, a lot of the greats, yourself included, you guys played 2 decades. You played 20 years. Like he's only halfway. Well, not even. He's only 9 years and 13, 14 games into his career. Like there's lots left to know where he goes. And you watch the players today, Larry, and I think the biggest difference amongst the great players today is because of the change and the change in equipment, the advancements in education on nutrition and sleeping and not having to fly on commercial, and now you fly charter and everything else, and now everybody has their own room. Maybe you're stuck with a snorer for a few years, who knows? But like there's a lot of things that allow, and the education of the players to maximize their best longer. That's what I see, right? Like there was always great players, but nowadays their bodies just don't wear down as quick, and that allows them. So like McDavid might be able to play at a peak level. Like look at Ovechkin, what he's doing now, and he's almost 40. So McDavid doing it at 40, and we saw Nick Lidstrom do it. Like it wouldn't really be shocking.
Yeah, it's. I got to circle back though. You may mention like I did start in LA in 1980. We flew exclusively commercial, and I remember guys and it was a killer schedule because. There was really nobody close to the Kings at that time. I mean, Vancouver, I guess, might be, I remember Marcel Dion, one of the all-time greats of this game. Just what a grind it was on him. I was 19 years old. I was getting on a plane. I was still excited about it at that point in my life. And I don't know how many times we fly coast to coast. A 6-hour flight from LA to New York, and it definitely grinded on them. And you also talk about the other elements. Nutrition, of course, is much better. Training's much better. The equipment's much better. Those guys, boy, they slugged it out, and it was impressive when they hung in there. It's definitely the path is for longevity. I think is if the issue being though, if because of the speed of the game today, if you lose that half step, you're in big trouble now. But for the most part, I mean, you've got every chance to just maximize what you can get out of that body. And yeah, I'm sure McDavid's going to hit 20 years easy. And you mentioned Ovechkin. I mean, he's still ramping it up. So who knows how long he's going to last.
Oh, well, it's amazing. Like, he's on pace for 50 goals again. Like, as a former player who I think has the ultimate respect for the game and how hard it is, I don't care what era it is, like, to dominate your peers is difficult. I don't care if it's in 50, 60, 80, 2010, or right now. It's hard to do. And that's really the only thing you compare yourself to. To see guys do it year after year, like, you got to just sit back sometimes, Larry, and kind of marvel and be like, man, like, this is fun to watch.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, you have to compare players within their era for obvious reasons. The biggest reason is in all sports. I mean, we'll have world records at the Olympics broken every Olympic from here to eternity. I mean, that's just the process of the human involved or evolution. I mean, people stronger, faster, and that's apparent right now in national hockey. You look at the speed of the game. Of course, the rule changes help things, and then which led and the improvement of equipment. Now guys can wear much lighter equipment. I played the game. If I went down the boards and I stepped around somebody, that two-hander was coming. You were getting it. You weren't. You're paying your toll.
Mm-hmm.
That's no longer part of the game. So the equipment is much more efficient. But it's still having said that, the competition's fierce. I mean, you have to be at your best. Connor McDavid's is the best or one of the best. He earns everything he gets. Nothing's handed to him. He's either out there, the high quality players on the ice that he has to deal with. So yeah, every year, as you touched on, every year is different, and you have to look within that era to kind of gets to be like apples and oranges when you try to compare even a guy like Wayne Gretzky with Connor McDavid. That's two different eras.
Yeah. Larry Murphy joins us, Hall of Famer, of course, analyst for the Detroit Red Wings. We'll get to the Wings in a second, Larry. I want to get your thoughts, though, and you're obviously one of the best offensive defensemen the game's ever seen, fifth all-time in points. You look at how the game has evolved, and, when you played, there were some offensive guys, but you also had a lot of guys who coached like, hey, just get the puck off the glass and out, right? Like, there's some defensive defensemen that weren't expected to move the puck. Nowadays, even if you're a penalty-killing defenseman and you're kind of considered that, you still have to be able to move the puck. Like, the positions really evolved a lot from when you came in the league.
Yeah, it's definitely. But a lot had to do with the rules of the game. I mean, you're at the point now where when I first got to the National Hockey League, it was made quite clear to me by my defense partner that the puck was up in his corner, that I get over to that side and get the stick on the forechecking player, because if he gets clear flight to the corner, he's going to run him right through the boards, right from behind. So that's an element of the game that's no longer here. So now it's a much more puck control situation. Yeah, the guys are gone. The other one's just hammer it around the boards or hammer it off the glass. I mean, you've got to be able to make that stick-to-stick pass. But that's part of the new rule package where it's the game is geared towards puck possession. You don't have to worry about somebody running your head through the boards. I mean, that's all out of the game now. So yeah, having those guys in there that can bang it around. I mean, there's no room for them in the game today.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's the expectations have changed a lot. Larry, in Detroit, expectations were pretty high coming into this season. That they're like, okay, you know what? They need to take a step. And they're in a very tough, very competitive division in the Atlantic where, Florida, Toronto, Boston, Tampa, those four have been in the playoffs, it seems like forever. The Wings got off to a little bit of a slow start, but, they are over 500 here in their last 10 games and, are suddenly 2 points behind Tampa Bay for the final playoff spot, and actually 1-3 back of Boston with 3 games in hand. What do you make of this Red Wings team, and What do they need to do to kind of break through that top four and potentially leapfrog Ottawa and Buffalo in the process?
Well, it's a conference issue. Yeah, as you point out, they're a tough division, but for them, it's kind of, they're looking at the Eastern Conference. They, of course, they love to get the top 3 team in their division, but the way it looks right now, boy, if they can get that that wild card spot, they'd be extremely happy with that. The problem with the East is, as far as the Wings are concerned, you look at who the 8 teams that made it last year, and coming into this season, you thought, well, I mean, who's gonna fall out that allow Detroit entry into the playoff picture? Well, I thought Washington Capitals, which is, I mean, it's still early in the season, but to me, that's the biggest surprise for a team, just how great they are playing, and they're in the playoff picture right now, solid. You got the Devils, dealt with their goalie issue. They had a lot of injuries last year. They're in there solid. So I mean, where do the Wings fit in? The unfortunate situation is Detroit can be a better team this year and still not make the playoffs. So the poor start didn't help their cause at all. Their offense production is their biggest issue right now. They've got just a couple of guys that are scoring and not getting anything throughout their lineup. And so that's issue number one, is for them to put the puck in the net, which wasn't an issue last year. But it's they're a more well-rounded lineup now. They have the terms of defense and the 4 lines. I still believe they can do what's necessary to make the playoffs, but it's a crowded field. I mean, it's incredible how tight it is. I don't know how the standings look today, but there's like 8 teams and within 2 points of each other, and it goes that way all season long.
Yeah, no, it's true, and you have to avoid a long losing streak, because last year, Detroit went on that run, and then they had a 6 or 7 game losing streak, and that really cost them the playoff spot. If they would have just went like 3-4, 2-5, they would have made it.
Oh, exactly. Alex Lyon was put in a position where he'd never been before in his career, where he was, because of Ville Husso's injury, he had to take be the number 1 goaltender, and I think he'd never played that many games in one season. I think it wore on him near the end of the season. Still, overall, a tremendous season, and Alex Lyon deserves a lion's share of credit for them, getting into that tiebreaker position for the Wings. But this year, I mean, it's a second go around. They got Talbot in there in net now. I think they've upgraded their goaltending. So the pieces have improved, and they need, as you say, they had that the killer losing streak after the All-Star break that from a comfortable playoff position, the outside looking in, it doesn't take very long. So yeah, they can't afford going into the tank. They've got a huge trip here. They beat Pittsburgh the other night. They got Anaheim tonight, LA tomorrow, and San Jose on Monday. So if they can get 2 of these 3, preferably 3 of these 3, then they're sitting in a wild card position again.
You look at the strength of their team. What do you feel it is?
Well, I think it's balance. They're a well balanced team. The problem right now is they're not getting this. The secondary scoring hasn't come. Marco Kasper, the rookie, hasn't put a puck in the net. He's improving as an NHL player, and he's very effective on the ice. But he's not lighting the lamp. Raymond, he's leading scorer, but he only has 1 goal. I think he's got 14 or 15 assists. So, I mean, I can go down the list. The Larkin has been lighting up the lamp. I mean, he's been carrying a lot of the load offensively. So, I mean, you look at, I think depth scoring is something that holds them back a bit. But Simon Edmondson it was a huge goal against the overtime goal against Pittsburgh. Just a nice little toe drag, like a real confident goal scorer's goal. Now, if he starts producing from the back end, him and Sider are playing outstanding. I mean, so there's places you look at, you think, this is what's going to get them over the top, and they're right there.
Larry Murphy joins us, Hall of Famer, analyst for the Detroit Red Wings. And one last one for you, Larry. When I want to get your thoughts as a D-man on Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes, and similar but different. Evaluate those two, and is there one that you lean towards more, and if so, why?
Well, I mean, that's for the opposition. It's pick your poison. With those 2 guys out in the ice, and just how deadly they are offensively. It's interesting. It makes me think. I think a guy like Brian Leach. I mean, played I wouldn't say as prolific skater as those guys, but still his approach was that way. It was the defense I thought in the 80s were much more active offensively. Then the game kind of got away from it. Guys like Paul Coffey in the 80s and 90s. You obviously can go through the list. Phil Housley, their approach to the game. Now you've seen these guys coming back in, and those two are two of the greatest at it. Makar is he's just a force. I mean, he's such an excellent skater and so effective with the puck, and the ability to if they do turn it over, the ability to get back to his position is incredible. That he's basically got a license to do what he wants out there, and it's extremely effective and it's extremely difficult to play against because you're a winger on his point, boy. You better keep your head on a swivel because he's going everywhere. So you got to be on your toes, and he's extremely difficult to play against.
Oh God, yeah. Larry, enjoy Anaheim, get some sun, and thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Larry Murphy, what a career. 1,216 points, fifth highest scoring defenseman in NHL history. One of only, 40 or 51 players who have 1,200 points in NHL history. Obviously, McDavid's going to join that club at some point in the near future, maybe as early as next year, to be honest. Because did you know the last 3 times when McDavid had to go from like 700 to 800, 58 games, 800 to 900, 58 games, 900 to 1,000 points, 58 games. So now he's at 1,001 to get to 1,100. Well, that should happen by the end of the year because the Oilers have 65 games left. So he'll be at 1,100 this year. Then is he going to get 100 next year? I would think so. So next season, Draisaitl will reach 1,000 points for sure. And McDavid will be up at 1,200. Now, depending on where Draisaitl finishes this year, next year he could go. If he gets like a 120-point season, he could be 1,000 and 1,100 guy in the same year. So there'll be a few more milestone nights for Oilers fans to watch. Now, obviously, 1,000 is a bit like they're not going to have the same thing for 1,100 or 12, maybe 1,500. And McDavid, the other thing that stood out, did you hear Connor McDavid? Oilers fans, you should have been giddy. I don't know how many of you are paying attention to it or not. It's been a great first 10 years. Look forward to another 10. I've said it all along. Connor McDavid signed an extension. Basically outlined again trust me, it's happening. Quick break. We'll return. Lorianne Munter joins us next on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. We're also up to $12.50, Con Man, for the tickets for the Boss. Awesome. 4 low seats to see Bruce Springsteen, baby. Tuesday night in concert. 833-401-1440.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meats, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Legacy Heating and Cooling jingle auditions, take 1 for Gene Principe. Are you ready, Gene?
Ready? I'm not just here to make a thermo a couple of bucks. I'd never just microphone it in.
Take 1.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Nice.
Boom! I'm a musical genius.
Legacy's going to love this for furnace season.
What's not to love with no interest and no Principe payments for 1 year?
Are you always like this?
Yep. Unlike a furnace, I have no filter.
Legacy Heating and Cooling.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
The Junior Prospects Hockey League would like to congratulate its athletes for competing in the BCHL Showcase in Chilliwack.
Liam Pugh left circle hold, shoots, scores!
The 18U division put on a show in front of BCHL, NCAA, and NHL scouts, and proudly represented the league as they continue to develop as players and people. Thanks to the groundbreaking Universal Affiliation Agreement, unsigned JPHL players can suit up for multiple BCHL teams in the same season. Next up is the JPHL's Winter Championships in December.
You've heard people say dream big and think about your future. Well, at GS Construction, we live by those words every day. You see, GS Construction lays pipes in the underground systems in your area. So we don't just think about today. We think about tomorrow and the future of Edmonton's communities and neighborhoods, the places we call home and the places we will call home. We're there when new neighborhoods are developed and return when it's time to replace them. For more on what we do, go to gsconstruction.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Albertans are always on the go for work, for play, and from downtown to wide open spaces. Nobody keeps Albertans moving like Dedham Ford. They've delivered the service and value buyers want for over 65 years. Now, for a limited time, enjoy cash savings up to $16,000 or rates as low as 0% during Dedham Ford's Black Friday blowout. Keep life moving courtesy of where cars always cost less. Dedham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at dedhamford.ca.
Cars cost less than Wetaskiwin.
Portions of this hour brought to you by On the Rocks. Watch every Oilers game at OTR with $5.25 Molson Canadian, $5 Pink Whitney shots, and 60-cent wings. Plus, play Oilers score and win to win On the Rocks gift cards. Oilers hockey at OTR. Book your table today. Jasper Ave in 118.
.247. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Edmonton Oilers victorious last night. In the process, Connor McDavid becomes the fourth fastest player to 1,000 points. Scored a goal on a one-timer. So all of you yesterday who called goal when we asked you would be goal and assist, good job. And Konza also had a goal. Most people had goal in the first period, but it happened in the second period, which is totally fine. And then him and Draisaitl both have assists on Darnell Nurse. Game winner. Nurse, a 3-point night, 2 goals, and an assist. McDavid and Draisaitl each with 2 points in the win. So a huge win for the Edmonton Oilers. I think emotionally more than anything else, just on McDavid's night, you wanted that to be a win. I think the crowd, you could really tell, was into it. And A, wanted the 1,000 point, and then B, obviously wanted the victory and got both. So 2-game winning streak at home. Score some goals at home. Now they go on the road. Montreal on Monday. Toronto first, though, on Saturday, and then into Ottawa next Tuesday. Let's bring in, as we have every Friday afternoon, Olympic gold medalist. She's also a mental coach, Lori Ann Munzer joins us. Lori Ann, how are you? I am great. And we got some questions from last week, so I kind of want to continue on with that topic. We're talking a little bit about young athletes, and really it doesn't even have to be an athlete. You can be in anything, but something that gets overlooked a lot that you found in dealing with teams and young players and even professional athletes at times is that a lot of people in society now, everybody's like, oh, geez, I don't want everyone, I want to protect my son or daughter. I want, and I get in a sense where you never want to see your child hurt or not, but it doesn't actually help them. Failure and the ability to deal with it, learn from it, move on from it is actually a good thing. And failing you have is part of the process that gets overlooked a lot when it comes to sports.
It does. And the one thing is, just like you said, parents, we don't want to see our kids fail. And it's one of the parts of the experiences that they're going to have to go through, whether it's school, it's work, it's friendship, it's relationships, and sports. And sports is probably one of the fastest ways to figure it out really quick or keep repeating it over and over again. But the problem I see is that we don't have a good game, or we don't score, or something goes wrong, and we just let it go. And I think one of the most important things is, okay, what happened here?
Right.
What were you thinking, or were you even thinking? And most people, most athletes that I have worked with, they can't even remember what happened because they're literally doing an out-of-body experience. They're totally in the moment, and they're just giving it their all. And it's only when you look back, and this is where recording comes in really handy. We used to have a camcorder. Now we've got the iPhone, so it's really easy, is to just do a quick replay and then go, what would you do different the next time? Because that's a huge component, because that's part of problem solving, of going, what could I do to have a better outcome? Not necessarily a winning outcome, but a better outcome. And that's work, that's sport, that's life, every area.
So, and now this is an interesting one, because you had failure as part of the process, but it's also part of training that gets, so how can you help train failure, or how do you train for failure?
Well, in whatever sport you're in, it's doing the drills. And some of the drills you're going to be successful.
Okay.
And I could tell you right out of the chute, if you have a new drill, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
You're probably going to fail, or you're kind of get close. But then part of it is looking within and going, what's the challenge I have to do for me within to bring out my best so that I could master this skill? And we talked about it last week, right? There's fundamentals in every sport. You got to do the fundamentals, and they're really boring. They're not exciting. You're going, why am I doing this? And yet you're doing them. And it's because of those things, the fundamentals you build, then you can build on the fancy stuff. But if you don't have the fundamentals, you can't do fancy first.
Okay.
So it's practice, 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 or train, train. All depends on if you love the word practice or if you hate the word practice. Whenever I think of the word practice, I think of playing and practicing the piano. Oh my gosh, that was like the worst thing. All I wanted to do was play sports and be outside. So I practiced as fast as I could and then get the heck out. But it's doing it over and over again that you can tell, which drills do I love? Which drills do I hate? And then how can I put it together so that it could help me do better?
Yeah. And now, how can you leverage that into your training, or even leverage that into your success as an athlete, especially maybe, or even how do parents help leverage that into their kids?
If you focus on the failing all the time, that's all you're going to get.
Right.
So it's, let's talk about it. What can we do to mitigate it or correct it?
Yep.
And then let's focus on what can you do. That's the biggest part. It's not what's not working, because typically that's where people will go, athletes will go. It's like, okay, deal with it and then be done with it. What can I do to be better? Even if it's just 1% better, because if you keep building on that 1%, you are going to get better and better. And then all of a sudden, one day, boom, it's just going to click and connect.
The mental training aspect, because we had a lot of questions about it. Lots of people don't really get into mental training until they're at university, or all of a sudden it's like, oh, this, now this is really serious and I need to do it. But mental training is going to help young athletes regardless of their skill potential. And because let's be honest, it's a small, minute percentage of people who play sports who go professional. And so I've always said, you don't play sports to go professional. You play sports for the fun of it, learning how to deal in a group scenario, so many different things.
Yep.
But mental training, if you get mental toughness in sports, you're going to have mental toughness in relationships. You're going to have mental toughness in work. You're going to have mental toughness in a lot of things. So mental training should probably be something that's much more prevalent in sports, because it would be an easy way to kids could buy, oh yeah, I love sports, so I'll do this because it's going to make me a better athlete, not even knowing that it probably could make them a better human.
Oh, absolutely. And I see it with younger kids with video games. Man, they're like right into the game. They're there. They can even tell you the whole pattern, sequencing, everything. And it's true. Why is that? Because they're right in there in the moment. So flip it to sports, flip it to school, flip it to whatever it is that you're doing. And it's the same thing, but you got to tap into, and we talked about this last week, what is it that you love, or can you figure out from the athletes that you're coaching what lights them up? And if you can figure out what lights them up, then you speak, hockey, you speak guitar, you speak art, you speak whatever language. If you speak bicycling, biking to me, I mean, that's either a Harley Davidson or it's a really nice bike. You've got me hook, line, and sinker. But you got to figure out
What about
is
a Trek bike? Does that get you excited?
Oh God, I've got one. I've got a fat bike.
Okay.
Absolutely. But it's just, you have to figure out what lights a person up. And when you do that, man, you've got their heart and you can do just about anything.
And I find it with kids sometimes, it's hard to get them to tell you really what they like. And
So this is where you play the guessing game.
Okay.
How good can you get with asking questions? And if you're not getting anywhere, shut up. Don't say anything and let them speak. Because sometimes they need a little bit more time than we think to process.
Okay.
And they're thinking, or else you've just handed them way too many things on their plate. They're trying to organize it and go, which one do I pick here? And we all need and we all process things in a different rate.
Lorianne Munzer joins us. And that's obviously a challenge. Like for a parent, they got multiple kids and you know what? They might have a son or daughter and one's really competitive and one isn't competitive. And you're kind of like, well, how does that happen? They came from the same place, but your DNA is just different. Your human spirit is going to be different in your own household, never mind kids on a team. And then it changes. Just because you're not competitive at 9 or 10 doesn't mean you won't be competitive at 16 or 17. I've seen lots of people, especially for some young boys, all of a sudden you hit testosterone levels and all of a sudden, or puberty, even for men or women, right? That change of puberty and all of a sudden something clicks and it's just like, you know what? I really don't like losing all of a sudden.
Absolutely. And sometimes also too, you'll hear an idea or you'll see something, whether it's on social media, Netflix or a sporting event, and you go, oh my gosh, I saw Bruce Springsteen and I just got to go and I got to play the guitar or whatever it is. And sometimes you can't figure out why those connections make you happy. Why do you love it? And it's just like, just go do it. Go do it. Be the best that you can be and just follow it. Because most people sit on the sidelines and they don't go after what they love to do.
What is the most basic place to start for mental training?
Well, if you've got some athletes that love the video games, convert the video game to their sport. Can they put themselves into their character or whatever the video game is, but convert it over and get them to think of, well, how would that apply to the sport, right? If you're playing some of those, what do you call them, the reconnaissance games, right? Is okay, you're reconnaissancing, but you've got the ball, you've got the puck. So what can you do to, you always have an end result of what you're doing and what you're playing with the game. Now in sport, it's the same thing, but the net might be different.
And what's a realistic, in your experience, and you've done this for a long time, like you can have a team of, and I'll just use a volleyball team, you probably have 12 players, right? Your golf team maybe could have 4 or 8, depending. Your hockey team obviously would have 16 or 17, give or take, with goalies. Football is obviously much higher. But mental training, is it better in a group or is it better individually?
A little bit of both. I would start with a group and give them a short scenario of maybe the start of a drill. Where are you on the ice? How are you standing? Where's your stick? If you receive the puck, where are you? And then visually get them to pass the puck from player to player. And maybe if you're in a circle, is across each other and then go one over and then across to the other side and make it a game. Call it out, walk them through it so at least they'll have something to grasp. Or maybe there was a drill that you were just doing, get them to close their eyes, but get one person, tap them on the shoulder and get them to walk through a short component of it. Tap the person beside so you know what the flow is going to be like and get them to take the next one. It's like, doing those word games. You start with a word and then the next person adds another word and then so on and so forth. But what you do is you convert it over into the drill so it becomes a skill. And when you start like that, it's small little segments and it's just built on one move or one pass at a time. And then soon enough, it starts to get a really good flow. And then soon enough, you're just like, oh my gosh, we put the puck in the net.
Lorianne, great stuff as always. I really appreciate it. Have yourself a good weekend.
You too. Take care.
Enjoy the Grey Cup. That is Lorianne Munzer, of course, who joins us every Friday, focusing on the mental side of sports and really in life. Because I think it's if you can get kids to do mental training in their sports, it's going to help them what happens if you don't get the grade you want on one test? Well, maybe you're better off handling it. Maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend dumps you and you're a teenager. And how do you deal with that? So there's lots of ways that can benefit you outside of sports, but you kind of trick them into thinking this is sports only. And away we go. Coming up, we will have Cam Tate join us a little bit later on in the 2-minute warning. We have Farhan Lalji, Wanye Gretz, Spec will be by, Craig Button, Jamie McLennan talking goaltending. Also talk about Toronto and Ottawa, 2 of the 3 stops for the Oilers on their upcoming 3-game and 4-day road trip. But first, let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice as they celebrate 25 years. Bringing back some of your faves, the original, the marathon, and the creamsicle. Download the Boosters Reward app or go in store. Booster Juice.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Got 5 games on the ice tonight in the NHL. Kicking off with the Penguins and Jackets. The Avs host the Caps, Flames, and Preds. Utah hosting the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Red Wings take on the Ducks. The Oilers back in action tomorrow, taking on the Maple Leafs, who will be without their captain, Austin Matthews. Vegas Golden Knights agreed to a 3-year extension with defenseman Braden McNabb, $10.95 million. That's $3.65 per season. The 33-year-old has 2 points in 16 games so far this season with the Golden Knights. In the association, the NBA Cup group play rolls on. The Raptors will host the Pistons. That's going just after 5 o'clock. Elsewhere, Sixers are in Orlando. Cavs host the Bulls. Nets taking on the Knicks. Spurs host the Lakers. Nuggets in New Orleans. And the Warriors up against the Grizzlies. WHL action tonight. The Oil Kings taking on Saskatoon. Town gets going at 6 o'clock in the BCHL. Crusaders hosting Black Falls and Salmon Arm in Spruce Grove taking on the Saints. Both those games will start at 7 o'clock. In the AJ, you got GP hosting Camrose. Olds in Whitecourt. Green Valley meets Bonneville, and Devon takes on Lloyd. Number 4 ranked U of A Golden Bears hockey team on the road. They'll battle Regina tonight at 6. Tomorrow at 4. The 8th seed Pandas hosting Regina at the Drake tonight at 7. Tomorrow at 2 at the Saville Center this weekend. We've got Golden Bears volleyball. They'll take on the Huskies at 7:30 tonight. The Pandas also meeting Saskatchewan at 6. And Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. It happens tonight on Netflix, coverage starting at 6 o'clock. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Wanye Gretz of Oilers Nation, Farhan Lalji from the CFL on TSN, and here another edition of Cam Tate's 2-minute warning. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Here is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meat, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Your furnace is dead. It's time to replace it before winter crushes you. Legacy Heating and Cooling is practically there already.
Yeah, we're working in your basement. Doing a replacement. The work is so earnestly building your legacy.
With no payments and no interest for 1 year, you gotta call Legacy. Replacing your dying furnace before it's too late, that's how you build your legacy. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
Ain't it beautiful?
The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 Select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Hand delivering a hamper to a family in need fills everyone's hearts with joy. Be part of the Holiday Hamper program. Adopt a local family and see the difference your groceries and gifts make firsthand. Sign up today at holidayhamper.ca.
We got to spend a night in a castle.
Then we visited a monastery where cured meat was invented.
Our trips are never that cool.
We spent half the week trying to hail a cab.
You guys need to book with Network Travel.
Make your next trip an unforgettable adventure with Edmonton's only travel agency with the network to connect you to the most amazing experiences. Network Travel. Learn more about our upcoming tours to Ireland, the South Pacific, Africa, and more at networktravel.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantork.com.
So Friday, how are you? Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube and Facebook. It's the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, and $65 million up for grabs in Lotto Max tonight. Get your tickets before 8:30. PlayAlberta.ca. Good luck. Also, you use the promo code Gregor50. You'll get a free $50 play at any point at PlayAlberta.ca. We also have our auction item today. 4 tickets, loge seats to the Bruce Springsteen concert this coming Tuesday. And Bruce at Golden View Fabricating out in Smoky Lake. Bruce has the top bid right now at $1,250, which is a great bid. We always like to get to face value. We're getting closer, not there just yet. And as always, for charity, so 833-401-1440. You can call or text the same number and get your bids in to see the boss, who hasn't been in Edmonton. I looked at, I don't think he's been here since 2003. So what's that, 21 years? So it might be their final time to see the boss live in concert coming up next Tuesday. So there you go, 833-401-1440. As we welcome to the program, our Friday co-host from Oilers Nation, Wanye Gretz, joins us. And Wanye, it was inevitable. McDavid was going to get 0.1000. And I know everybody wanted it right away. It took till the second period, but in very fitting fashion, nurse to Draisaitl to McDavid. There should be maybe a shout out to Jeff Skinner for taking the penalty that made it 4-on-4, because the goal came 4-on-4.
It was a wonderful moment, I think, in franchise history. Did you feel like you experienced something?
Well, you could tell the game was different. Just in the crowd, McDavid in the first period, every time he touched the puck, there's like, ooh, right? Like, he touching the puck at center ice, and there's that, ooh. People wanted it to happen. And, talk to Connor afterwards, and I liked his honesty even on the ice, but in the room, he's like, Jesus, it's a little bit more emotional than I thought it would be for me. And I think he really sensed it would be hard not to, when you can sense that other people want you to have success, and they want to see your success, and exciting. And it was a different game. It's one where, You know what? Hey, you got 41 regular season games. They're not all going to be Picassos. They're all going to be super exciting. 2 days before the Islander game, as McDavid said, there wasn't a whole lot going on for lots of that game. And so, yeah, it was different for sure. Like, am I going to remember his 1,000 point, if I'm being honest, in 10 years? Like, I don't know. I have a good memory, so I guess maybe I would, but I don't know if, I don't put it up there in the realms of like Stanley Cup game winners or anything like that. But it's, as far as a regular season game goes, yeah, it'll be memorable.
It's interesting to start to enter the third maybe phase of Connor and Leon's career, right? They got drafted and there was so much hype around them, especially with Connor. And then the main question was like, is he going to live up to the hype? And I feel like he answered that virtually within the first season. Like, how many games did it take in the NHL, Gregor, for Connor to prove he was who they said he was?
Yeah, there is and McDavid did kind of answer that. He said, man, you know what? Maybe it's emotional that you get to that 1,000 point. And there's a lot of great parts about being a superstar, but there's a lot of I think the pressure parts that people don't necessarily focus on. And like, to live up to the hype all the time is hard, right? Now he loves it, I'm sure. Otherwise, like, to be a great player, you got to be so passionate and truly love it. Like, that's just, bordering on absolutely, maybe like over the top loving it. But I look at McDavid, and you kind of see the evolution of his career. And it's funny, like, he's only 13, 14 games into his like 10th season, right? And like, he's not even at the halfway point of his career.
But that went by in a blink of an eye, those 10 years, don't you think?
God, no.
No?
No.
It felt like it went on?
No, well, I don't know. Like, 10 years is, there's lots that has happened. Like, you think about, the injury, and, then they end the decade of darkness, but then they go right back into it for 2 years. And, then they're back, and then they, stub their toe and play terrible against Chicago. And then they actually play really well, but can't win and can't score and lose against the Jets. And then they have some playoff success finally. So no, I don't, for me, I don't know if it's really gone by that super fast in that sense. Like, I'm a big believer in appreciating the steps along the way to a journey. And some people like, well, McDavid's got to win a cup. Until he wins a cup, nothing matters. And I'm like, well, of course that's false. You need to have a lot of steps on the journey. The road isn't always smooth, and it isn't always just, straight up, boom, boom, here we go, and I win a cup. And yeah, Crosby did. So what? Ovechkin didn't. And here's the funny thing. No one talks about Ovechkin in the same light, because he won, like, 1 year they won. Many other years they were great and probably had better teams, but didn't win. And that's why it's a finicky thing. And so for me, I've tried to tell myself to look at sports a little bit different. Championships are great, and obviously I understand the importance of it, but it's not the only way to evaluate success.
If you were to sit and look at Connor as like an independent observer and say, in those 10 years, how many of those games was Connor the best player on the ice, the best three players on the ice? What percentage of those games was he above average in skill? It's an incredible amount. Like, we'll never see in the modern era, I don't think, another Connor McDavid. Those first 1,000 points maybe didn't come with a cup, but he definitely had an impact, an enormous impact on the game.
Oh, God.
To have a player that's basically acclimated as being the best player in the league, that's very rare.
Yes. Oh, no, 100%. And he's, you know what? Now, I will say that right now, today, that the gap between McDavid and McKinnon is as small as it's ever been. Right? And you can make an argument that last year and this year, McKinnon, maybe health or whatever reasons, at least in the regular season, that's where it comes in. Regular season, sure. Playoffs, McDavid went nuclear. We saw it. So you can't, I get that the playoffs are where you win the championship. I understand it. But guys will play 1,500 NHL games, and they might only play 120 playoff games. And we value the 120 like 10 times more. It's very odd.
Did you know the Calgary Flames never made the playoffs ever? Did you know that, Gregor?
I believe in truth on our show.
Oh, I see. Because they're the worst city in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, we got a lot of text flying in, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Hey, Gregor, I saw your numbers last night about McDavid and the 1,000 points. What's a realistic number for him to finish his career with? Does he get to 2,000? Daniel. Well, I believe he does, Daniel, because for a few reasons. So number one, this will end season 10 in April. I believe McDavid, he has 99 points to get to 1,100. For him to finish the season and to score 99 points in his next 65 games, consider the last 3 times he went from 100 to the next 100. So 7 to 858 games, 800 to 958 games, 900 to 1,058 games. Is he suddenly going to jump up and need 10 more games to get that? Probably not. So he's got 65 games left this year. I think he gets 99 points in 65 games. So now he'll be at 1,100. So he'll be at 1,100 points after 10 years. And when I look at McDavid, I think he's got at least 10 more years left. So minimum, he'll probably have more, to be honest, because I think he'll play close to 40. Now, like 22, 23 seasons isn't outside the realm of realism at all. Because we just had Larry Murphy on. Those guys, and Larry talked about how, and they played in an era where they had the worst travel, right? The food, nutrition, everything else was basically stacked up not to be able to maintain your level of greatness long. Now it's the opposite. Everything is out there for the players: education, training, doctors, nutrition, travel, sleep studies, everything to say you can maximize your skill for a lot longer, right? And so McDavid, if he's had 1,100 in the first 10 seasons, for me to say he's going to get 900 in his next 10, that's a drop of 200 points, right? That's a drop of 20 points per year. That's a pretty significant drop. So I would say it's I've said it 2 years ago. I was crunching the numbers. McDavid is going to score 2,000 points. And now Crosby might beat him if he decides to play until he's 41 or 2, which is very possible. He could. But I think Connor McDavid's career is one that right now is shaping up to be a 2,200 to 2,350 type of career.
Where do you think Leon ends up?
I think Leon Draisaitl's a guy who, now he's older than Connor, right, by a year. And, so he came into the NHL later. And so that does matter, right? So because everybody remembers he tried playing at 19. He went back. He wasn't ready at 19. Nothing wrong with that. So he really didn't start in the NHL till he was 20. So now he's 2 years behind McDavid in starting. And so, and doesn't score as many points overall as McDavid either. I think you could see Leon between 17 and 1,800.
It's an incredible thing that the team has guys of that output. That's Malkin and Crosby levels.
Oh, no, it's higher.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's quite a bit higher. In fact, when you look at McDavid has 1,000 points in 659 games. I'll have to go back and see exactly where but Crosby got to 1,098 games later. So he was probably at game 659. I'm going to guess Crosby was at maybe 900 points. Probably less than that. Probably closer like 880 realistically. So, he's already got a gap on him because of that. And, it's crazy to think when you look at points per game, and McDavid's right now is about a 1.5 point per game player. So 98 more games, that gives him what? Another 146 more points. So that's where he will be at that same time. So he'll be like 200 plus points ahead on pace. So yeah, I think you're watching a player who is, when his career is said and done, there'll be conversations, and I understand there'll be recency bias for sure. And McDavid, does he skate faster than Gretzky? 100%. And people won't, they'll look at grainy footage and they'll find all the things that they don't like about the 80s when Gretzky played. And they'll talk goalies weren't as good and yada, 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 right? Without saying, well, the game has changed for sure, but no one else. Wayne Gretzky had 2,000 points in 857 games. 2,000 points in 857. Connor McDavid, unreal player, 1,659. Think about that for a second. There's only 21 players in the NHL who got to 1,000 points in fewer games than Gretzky got to 2,000 points. Right? So it's not that Gretzky he was so much better than everybody else in his era. But the thing is, if you look at the numbers, McDavid right now is very close to being like Mario Lemieux was considered the second best offensive player, Now, they're 5 years apart, so it's a little bit different. And I looked at McDavid and Crosby. So I like to crunch the numbers. So McDavid, his first 10 years, which he's currently involved in, points per game for his team, because that's the only team he can get points on, was 3.13 points, goals per game, 3.13. Crosby, his first 10 years, 3.04. So like 0.09. You know how many extra advantages that is over? It's not very many, okay, is what I'm saying. So then you looked at the gap between him and Crosby is 98 games. So then you go Gretzky and Lemieux, and Gretzky got to 424 games, and Lemieux was 513. So it's 89 games was better. So slightly better than what McDavid is, better than Crosby. So if we're comparing it to peers, you know, you look and say, McDavid right now is trending at a time where he's getting close to dominating his peers on the level of Gretzky. Not there yet, because you got to go overlook. And you might have to look and say, okay, let's compare him to a guy more like McKinnon. Right? That might be the better comparison when the careers are done. And I think that would give us you a better scope. But is McDavid faster? Yes. But does McDavid think the game like Gretzky did? Does he see the game? It's not just about speed. Everybody's about speed, and I get it, because speed's something you can see. It's very easily noticeable. To see the vision of a Gretzky is something you won't be able to see due to highlights very often. And that's what it's going to be hard to make that comparison, right? And I get the younger people who see McDavid, that's going to be their guy, as it should be, right? They didn't see Gretzky live. I get it. But it'll be really hard pressed for him to surpass Gretzky. I think in some people's eyes he will when it's all said and done. But it will be... He's never going to do it statistically. And I know Paul Paduti will do his, era ranking and stuff, which is fine. But it's a formula that doesn't factor in travel, sleep, nutrition, better equipment. It doesn't factor that in, right? It only factors in goals per game and stuff like that.
So, how old was Gretzky when he retired?
Well, he was born in 61 and he retired he was 39. I think.
And how old do you think Connor can play till?
Oh, he'll play into his 40s. It's funny because someone the other day said, oh, maybe you can play as long as this. And I walked away and I was like, dude, you're going to play like 15 more years. And he goes, yeah, you're right. So McDavid's going to play until he's 40 for sure. The only reason he doesn't is if he has some catastrophic injury. It's the only way I see it. Like it'll be something very special. So like we always get this. How many points would McDavid have if he played when Gretzky played? T-Roy. Well, T-Roy, ask yourself the question. How much clutching and grabbing is there in the game today? How much more physical was the game then till it is now? He wouldn't have been able to train like he trains now. He wouldn't have the equipment today that he has then. He'd have to fly commercial. He's never used to that. So you can't just take a player from this era and just say, well, I'm going to take Connor McDavid, who's the athlete today, who has way better training mythology, and just plonk him into that. No, you have to go back and say, I don't know. And no one knows. It's impossible to know because you're only looking at all the positives of McDavid and not looking at all the negatives that Gretzky had to overcome in the 80s. Right? It's like people say, well, how would Gretzky be today? I think he'd be pretty damn good. Just like I think McDavid would be good. The best would figure it out, but it would be different. Marilyn Lemieux and Brett Hall, remember they were so pissed. Lemieux considered retiring because he was so tired of the clutching and grabbing that they allowed in the game. McDavid just doesn't skate down the ice and have two guys draped all over him. Not at all. So yes, you're allowed to use your speed more in today's game. We can argue that it's better, but if you're going to take a player from now, you have to look and say, I don't know how he would handle all the clutching and grabbing. I have no idea. And guess what? Even Gretzky fought once or twice. Like the game was different. It just was. So I think it's impossible for anybody with any real sense to say knowledgeably how a player would do. I can make an assumption, and I think the greats of any era would still be able to handle any other era. That's my base saying. To what level, I don't know. But I think Connor McDavid would be able to play in another era. Keep in mind, though, would he be as fast then as he is now? No, because they didn't train that way. They just didn't. Quick break. We'll return on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Farhan Lalji will join us. Some Elks conversation, Grey Cup, and more.
We've finished construction of our gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Michelle and Colette are sisters. Sisters who don't agree on much, especially when it comes to which hockey team is the best.
Edmonton is the best, baby. Vancouver's number one.
Even when it comes to meat snacks from Wilhawks.
I love the Herrischweiner. The ham sausage rules.
But they will agree
Wilhawk beef jerky is the best.
it might just be the only thing Alberta hockey fans can agree on.
Others can try to imitate, but no one can duplicate Wilhawk beef jerky. Only available in Leduc. Get yours today because you don't win friends with salad.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
When it comes to your health, trust Dr. Bryce Henderson for expert care in hip and knee replacements. With years of experience and advanced techniques, Dr. Henderson helps you regain your mobility and quality of life.
Your health is my priority. Let's get you back to doing what you love.
Put your health in the hands of a trusted expert. Book your consultation with Dr. Henderson today. Visit vitalsurgicalspecialist.ca or call 587-391-7864.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Japa Machinery. Japa is digging deep on their 50-year history of supporting Alberta's construction industry with their line of special edition blackout excavators. Visit japamachinery.com for all the details.
Positive Friday continues on. Welcome back, Jason Gregor, Wanya Gretz, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you're having big plans for the weekend. Lots going on, man. Anything in the sporting world, boxing, mixed martial arts, college football, NFL, the Grey Cup, NHL. Oof. It is a wonderful time to be a sports fan. As we get to our CFL report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year. Get your furnace today. Save. LegacyHeating.ca. As we welcome back to the show from Vancouver, from the CFL on TSN, Farhan Lally joins us. And Farhan, player awards went down last night. Brady Oliveira wins both the MOP and the top Canadian, and he'll try to get the trifecta this weekend in the Grey Cup. No player in CFL history has ever won all three in a span of 3 days.
Well, yeah, and you've certainly got to like Brady Oliveira's odds to be the first, Jason. The way he was able to really elevate his game this year after kind of being a non-factor in training camp, right? And just the timing with that run game and his fitness level and everything at the start of the year was tough, but then he got better and better and better, winds up leading the league in rushing for the second straight year, third straight year over 1,000 yards, to be mentioned alongside names like, Russ Jackson and Tony Gabriel and John Cornish, and of course, George Reed, who the MOP award is named after. That's a pretty special thing. And he just seems to be getting better and better. So if Winnipeg can get a lead and they can all of a sudden start leaning on Brady Oliveira, it's going to be a tall order for Toronto.
Looking at the matchup here, the one thing that's surprising is in the regular season, the Argos, they gave up hardly anything. The Bombers had, I think, a combined 25 points. The Argos were able to sack Caleros almost at will in those two games. That's going to have to continue if they have any hopes of winning. What do you make of the D-line battle of the Argos versus the O-line of the Bombers?
Yeah, I think Toronto's better in that area. I like Toronto to win that matchup the way their D-line has played really throughout the season, because this defense has carried this team big time. But, for me, I just think the quarterback gap is too wide, right? So, even when you compare same, like if you look at Toronto's offensive line versus Winnipeg's offensive line, Toronto's is better. You look at the receiving corps, Toronto is better. Defensively, they probably match up a little more even in that regard. I don't think they're going to get 9 sacks, right? I do think Winnipeg is playing at a pretty high level, and they were able to neutralize a really good Saskatchewan defensive front. So again, you're not going to completely eliminate Toronto's ability to pressure, but I don't think it'll be as one-sided as it was in those other games. But I just, the climate is controlled. It's not like some of the freezing cold Grey Cups they've played in the last couple of years that those have factored in. I just think Zach is going to be on top of his game, and his best is a lot better than Nick Arbuckle's best. So if Winnipeg, if they can get a bit of a lead, I talked about the impact that's going to have on Brady Oliveira and the Winnipeg run game, but if now all of a sudden you've got to put the game in Nick Arbuckle's hands, I don't like Toronto's chances. So I think their defense is going to scrap and keep them in it, but you better hope it's less than a 1-score game, because if it gets to be a 2-score game in the second half, I don't know that Toronto's necessarily equipped to come back in those moments.
Farhan, in BC right now, hearing, there's lots of rumblings that there could be some significant changes in that organization from, on the GM side, going from, co-GMs and neither one of the co-GMs getting the GM job and, the assistant GM becoming the GM.
You're talking about in BC or in Edmonton?
No, BC for the Lions.
Yeah. Okay, so in BC, look, I expect Ryan McMaden to be elevated.
Yeah.
And whether that turns into a co-GM position with Neil McAvoy, or if it's Ryan with the GM title, and let's say McAvoy gets moved into a VP of football operations, right? Like Neil won't get a demotion, and McMaden's going to get an elevation. He would not have turned down Edmonton without some assurances, right?
Yes.
So I fully expect that to happen, which means Rick Campbell, if he's even if he's retained in BC, is not going to have a GM title next to his name, right? Like that's just not going to happen. So, and that's probably a good thing, right? Like I think that there was a bit of a disconnect between personnel and coaching, and I think that they'd be better served if personnel was able to make some of those big picture roster decisions, both in the offseason in terms of signing and also in terms of what might happen on game day. So that's what personnel is going to look like. Rick Maiden, I think, will have roster control. And so what does that mean for coaching? Okay, so I have spoken to the owner, I've spoken to the president, and I truly believe they haven't made a decision yet. I truly believe that that's the case. But I think arrows are pointing in a certain direction. And then you look at the Edmonton situation, and Jason, you know Ed Hervey as well as anybody. Everybody in the Canadian Football League, like everybody in the CFL, believes that Ed Hervey is going to be the next GM of Edmonton, and it's basically a done deal.
Yes.
So if that happens, then what, right? He's got a good relationship with Rick. He's the guy that hired Rick in BC. And never got a chance to work with him because by the time the pandemic and all that happened, Ed was out, and that's just the way it went down, right? So I surely believe the two men have a great relationship and would be comfortable and happy to work together once again. And if you're the Lions, even if you want to retain Rick Campbell, I can't imagine they would want to extend Rick Campbell. So now you got Rick Campbell with a year left on his deal, without the GM title, kind of a lame duck position. So at that point, if that's how it plays out, then I would see Rick Campbell going to the Lions and coming up with a mutual departure so that he can take the Elks head coaching job and return. And this entire exercise in Edmonton has been about reconnecting the Elks to the Eskimos brand of yesteryear. And that's Chris Morris, and it's Ed Hervey, and it could be Rick Campbell, and it could be Jordan McSimic coming with him as the OC. It could be all of those things. So
it's like you were listening to my show yesterday, Farhan. That's exact, because McSimic's the one guy that I think maybe gets overlooked in. And I think if you have them, I almost guarantee you have Trey Ford, because McSimic has a really good reputation of working with quarterbacks.
Sure, but if you're them, why wouldn't you want Vernon Adams?
Yeah, I'm not sold that Vernon Adams' ceiling's there over Trey Ford.
Yeah, you might not be, but the Canadian Football League is.
Yeah.
Right? And he's 30. So,
Yeah, well,
like I'm telling you, like Jordan brought the best out of VA. So, I'm telling you that VA would be part of that conversation. Now, might they my expectation is that Ed understands what the tea leaves are in Edmonton, and I'm sure he's talked about Trey as a possibility, but I just don't believe that anybody, including Ed Hervey, is going to say, Trey, here's the keys. Said it before, Jason, I'll say it again. Like they got to get this thing done now, and they're going to be in a hurry. And I don't think that they're going to say it's all yours. It'll be Trey and. Now, it won't be Trey and Vernon.
No.
Right? Because Vernon is still in his prime. And if you bring in Vernon, then he's your guy, full stop, for the next, whatever many years you put back on his deal. So I do think that. Now, look, at the end, I think Vernon Adams is going to be a Calgary Stampeder. But I do think he'll be part of the discussion in Edmonton as well. And it's funny because the McSimic thing, I think you and I have talked about it before. If you'd asked me 4 months ago, I would have had Ed coming back to Edmonton with McSimic as his coach.
Yes, I agree.
As his head coach, right? Whereas now I think it could go, it could go a little differently, right? So, and Jordan, obviously he's from Spruce Grove and would fit great in Edmonton. But if BC, let's say BC makes the change and Rick Campbell goes to Edmonton and BC hires Buck Pierce, obviously Jordan wouldn't be back to Vancouver. But if, let's say they move on from Rick and bring in a defensive guy for the sake of argument, let's say Orlando Steinauer or Mark Washington becomes the head coach in BC, they might want to keep Jordan McSimic. And if you're Jordan, you might want to work with Nathan Rourke, who you had great success with in 2022 and still believe a ton in, right? So there's a few moving parts there, based on who's got time left on their contract and all of those things as well.
Farhan Lawley joins. We know Chris Morris put the deadline on his self-imposed deadline that, he wants this done by the 14th. The 24th, right? Is 25th. Yeah, the Monday. So, basically a week after the Grey Cup. And I'll be stunned if they wait that long. I think the announcement will be sometime next week. My question to you is, do you think, is there a point then, because I agree with you, I think it's Ed Hervey. I've been saying it's Ed Hervey for months, before Chris Morris was even hired. I just thought he was the GM that made the most sense for the organization. Once Morris was hired, I was like, well, it makes even more sense. They know each other, and Chris Morris spoke very passionately about bringing back the Eskimo way, and a guy who obviously knows it. And really the only GM who's had success in Edmonton over the last 2 decades, really since 2005, is Ed Hervey. So, but my question is, do you think they would even still interview Govia in Winnipeg, or is it too far down the road at that point, and you don't waste his time?
Yeah, see, that's the problem, right? Is that when they went through this 3 years ago, Winnipeg and Wade Miller really slow played Ted. They wanted to make it difficult for him. So after the Grey Cup, you're actually allowed 10 days, not just 7, as opposed to if there's an earlier round departure. So now Winnipeg could make it hard. Ted's got another year on his deal in Winnipeg and say, yeah, we'll let you interview with Edmonton, but we're going to wait 10 days. And that's not above Wade Miller to do that. So if they do that, and now you got to wait till the 27th to meet with Ted Govia for the first time. There's no way they're waiting that long.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you don't have the option to interview Ryan McMaden. Now, if you got to wait a week to meet with 2 guys, okay, maybe there's some value there. But now if you're just waiting for one and you got to wait even longer, Chris Morris wants to get on with it. So I'm with you, bud. I think Ed Hervey's going to get named at some point in the middle of next week. And if not, it's Stuart Simon in the middle of next week. But I don't see them waiting.
Chris was very honest, and he said that there were some young guys he wanted to interview, not necessarily for the GM job, but for a potential assistant GM job maybe down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been able to pinpoint any of those potential names?
No, and I know there's kind of that next wave around the league of whether you're, Brendan Mahoney in Calgary or Spencer Zimmerman in Hamilton, or there's a few of those guys that he may kick tires on. I know they did interview Brendan Taman, who's not necessarily young and up and coming, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that any of those are factors. And, they may come, and a lot of it will depend on, who Ed has built relationships with in the last few years to come in and potentially, be one of those guys. So I'm sure that in the end, I don't know that Chris tries to position Ed's staff. I think he would allow Ed to do that if that's the way they wind up going.
What about Killam in Calgary? Where do you think he ends up? Well, not in Calgary anymore, formerly of Calgary.
Well, I think Killam is really, really interested in the Edmonton Elks head coaching position. And if Ted Govaya would have gotten the job 3 years ago when they gave it to Chris Jones, Mark Killam would have been the head coach in Edmonton.
Yeah,
he was Ted's guy. He's also a guy that's from Edmonton, and I think he'll, do well in that market. And when Mark gets an opportunity to be a head coach, he'll do really well at it. I gotta think he should be the head coach of the U of A, to be quite honest.
That was going to be my next one. Yeah, but
I think his mind is still into the CFL, and I think that the U of A search committee, I think is very wary of CFL candidates for that reason, right? You want a guy that's going to be there as long as Chris Morris was, right? So if Mark can look in his heart and say, okay, I'm ready to do this full time for a long time. Okay, but I just don't know that Mark's there yet. So I could see Mark being the special teams coordinator in Edmonton too, right?
Yes.
I think there's a real possibility that if he doesn't land any of the potential head coaching jobs, but I think Mark aggressively wants to pursue that. But the last 2 years in Calgary haven't gone well for any of the Calgary coaches. So, the bloom is not as heavily on the rose as it might have been 2 years ago for Monson, Killam, or any of those guys, right?
Yeah, that happens for sure. Farhan Lalji joined us here on Sports 1440. Interesting last night, turning around to the Elks. Anderson wins the Rookie of the Year. No surprise. Had an unbelievable season. And a very well-spoken young man. And I like what he said. He goes, you know what? I'm not going to the NFL just to be a number. I want to play. And when I look at the Elks, I think, hey, he's got some leverage. You're right. I know there's the option out to go to the NFL. When you look at him, if he was 3 inches taller, Farhan, I think he'd probably already be in the NFL. But the reality is that he isn't. And when I look at his body type and size, I see an elite level linebacker in the CFL who I'm not sure, other than being a special teamer, would ever be in the NFL.
Totally agree with you. Now, look, for some players, that's enough because of the dollar difference. But when you've gone through it and you know what it feels like to be just a number, it takes a lot more to get you to go the second time, right? And in Nick Anderson's case, you're right. And look, the CFL is full of that guy that's just 2 or 3 inches too short, right? But does everything else at an incredibly high level. When you look at Niles Morgan and Nick Anderson, that's the best receiver, or that's the best linebacking core in the Canadian Football League, right? And we've seen good ones. I was there covering daily when Adam Bighill and Solomon Elamimian were Team 100.
Yeah.
And Montreal's got a good duo, and Toronto's got a good duo. But that duo in Edmonton, and for a defense that was that ordinary, those two guys are incredibly elite. So I think Edmonton's got some pretty good building blocks if you're the next defensive coordinator for that team.
Well, they got to sign Morgan, right? That's going to be that. To me, he's top of the list on the free agents for the Elks to maintain. He's got to be their number one guy.
He is, but one thing you got to know is that Ed Hervey doesn't pay linebackers, right?
No,
he's the guy that shipped out Elamimian in Vancouver. That's not how he builds teams. And quite honestly, linebackers in this league generally don't get paid.
No.
Right? There are no more $200,000 linebackers like Elamimian and Bighill were at various points. So the market's just not going to take you there. So, I'm sure they'll be able to find a way to get it done at a reasonable rate because the market won't be intense for a linebacker because there's a lot of them out there.
Farhan, who are you taking to the Grey Cup?
I'm hoping Toronto wins, but I think Winnipeg will.
Why? Now I'm curious. Why are you hoping Toronto wins?
I can't tell you. I can't tell you, or I'd have to kill you.
Okay.
But no, truthfully, I do think Winnipeg's going to win the game just because of what I said. There's a gap at the quarterback spot.
Yeah.
And, Zach Claris is going to find a way. Elements aren't going to be involved. And I just think he's going to find a way to get it done. And that's no slight on Toronto. The rest of their team is really, really high end. And if Chad Kelly's playing, I'm probably picking the Argos right now. But that quarterback situation's got me thinking it's got to be Winnipeg. And there's a lot of urgency there, right? Like, they don't want to be the team that made it to 5 straight Grey Cups and lost more than half of them.
Yeah, you don't want to be the Buffalo Bills of the CFL.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? Like that's what, because it's funny. They win this game, people will have a conversation. Are they a dynasty? That's 3 in 5 years. They went to all 5 in a row. If they lose the game, there won't even be a conversation. It'll just be like, oh my goodness, they're the Buffalo Bills. Like, there's a lot weighing on this, and the pendulum can swing a massive different way depending on the outcome of Sunday's game.
Well, like, you think about Wally Bono, and all the dominant teams he had in Calgary, and he'd be the first to tell you we didn't win enough Grey Cups.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't even get to enough. They didn't get to enough Grey Cups.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's, so ultimately the dynasty conversation changes when you don't finish the deal. And if you're Winnipeg, look, they've been the gold standard league-wide, but got to win the last one.
Yeah, it's very true. Well, Farhan, enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoyed being the host in the Grey Cup. The Grey Cup is great, except when it's in your city.
So true, my friend. So true. Take care.
Have a good one. That's Farhan Lalji from TSN. It's true, because when you're working in the Grey Cup and it's out of town, you don't have all the family responsibilities and other things. But when you're working and it's in your city, well, you're expected to still do all the family stuff, right? It's harder. It's way harder. Tell you. You're pulling way more directions. So it's a long-running joke. The Grey Cup is great, except if it's in your home city. Now, if you're an average fan, that's totally different. From a media perspective, for sure. Even for fans. You think about it, when you're going to the Spirit of Edmonton room, right? And usually you just right down the street from your hotel. A little bit closer. Maybe you got to, Uber it all the way across town. It's a little bit different, right? And the difference is, if you're going out of town for the weekend, you're just out of town for the weekend. It's different than, we're going to the Spirit of Edmonton room. Yeah, but you went last night. I know, but if I was out of town, I'd be going both nights. It wouldn't matter, but it's different.
What was the funnest Grey Cup you've ever been to?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, one of my earliest ones, 2003 in Saskatchewan, would have been, so my first 2 Grey Cups were unbelievable, because my first one was in Montreal.
What year?
That's 2001.
Okay.
So I started working, I was in school. I started basically in April with John Short, and then I started covering the Elks full time. That whole summer, was producing a show. And I was like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm covering the team all year long. You should go to the Grey Cup, even though they weren't in it. But it was like, he's like, yeah, so, it got sponsors when it went. So I go to the Grey Cup. Now, being a rookie, I went in there on the Tuesday, but there's nothing going on until Wednesday. Like, I actually got there Monday. And so the Tuesday night, not knowing that, I knew there was a press conference at 9 a.m. So I'm like, yeah, no big deal. So I went out Tuesday night, ended up going down Crescent Street. Anybody's been to Montreal, it's a super awesome place. And went down Crescent Street, had a great time. Got in late, whatever. In the meantime, now there's really no cell phone like there is now. You have emails, but you didn't really have cell phone. And the Montreal Alouettes had called a press conference like late Tuesday night that they were going to have a press conference at 8 a.m. to announce Don Matthews as their head coach. Well, Matthews had been fired because my first training camp was out at the Garrison. And that's when the Elks, they were doing all the renovations at Commonwealth. So they had their whole training camp out there. And Don got fired in training camp, which never happens. So here's a rookie reporter. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And guys like, this never happens. So, but the fact that he left Edmonton, it's like, well, I got to have a story on him. But I didn't get to go to his press conference because I slept right through it because I didn't know it was 8 o'clock. So I wake up, I shower, I come downstairs. And everyone's like, oh yeah, what do you think about Matthews? And I'm kind of like, oh, what do you think? And then they tell me, I'm like, oh my God. So I knew their media PR guy, Jean-Louis, very well. And I was like, hey man, explain the situation. I'm like, I'm just going to be honest. I didn't know, whatever, I went out, I got up. I didn't know you guys had a press, who has a press conference at 8 a.m.? But they wanted it before, because usually you can't have any big announcements during Grey Cup week, but they did it right before, right? And it was in Montreal, so they wanted to do it fine. So through all the talking, Don came to meet me, Joe Nobody, at my hotel in the lobby to do an interview. So I sat down with Don Matthews. We do our interview, and then he's like, hey, do you want to have a beer? I'm like, oh, sure. I spent an hour with Don Matthews, and I'd heard all these horror stories. He was a dick. He was unreal to me. And Don in a scrum, pointless talking to him. one-on-one was fantastic, at least to me, right? So I can only judge my interaction with him. I'd seen what he'd done. Sure, I probably wasn't the greatest human at all times, but in my interactions with a young reporter, he was fantastic. And he had no reason to be. Like, I was a nobody, right? Like, just starting out, like, just greener than green. And it was a fantastic interview. So that one, from a work standpoint's memorable. But 2003 in Regina, it was freezing cold. And so John Sexsmith and I were there. I was covering it for my state. John was there for Global. And so we're working, and we run into Jed Roberts. So I'd known Jed before I ever got into media, right? So I knew who, like, Jed and I had met out at bars a few times, and just through mutual friends, I knew who he was, right? So he remembered me, and he's like, oh, now, and obviously he covered the team, so he knew who I was. So him and Trent Brown, and the four of us, we went out, and I had borrowed a guy's wig, like a massive afro wig, and I wore it like for 2 days, and no one knew who I was. So I loved it. It was fantastic. And we climbed the fence at the Spirit of Edmonton room. It was so busy to get in, and like the middle of winter is packed, and Trent Brown's like, well, let's just scale the fence. I'm like, all right. So that one was a lot of fun.
The problem when you go with the athletes, I always want to do athletic stuff.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're chaining over the chain link fence, but in minus 25, it's a little chilly, but it was fun. Quick break. We'll come back. We got the 2-minute warning with Cam Tate and more on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Wow, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
Are you watching the interest rates these days? Of course you are. Paying less interest leaves money in your pocket. That's why St. Albert Dodge is happy to tell you that right now they have 0% financing on virtually all new 2024 models. Hundreds to choose from: Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer, Dodge Durango, and Hornet, Ram 1500, 2500, 3500, all with 0% financing. Why pay interest? Head up the trail and see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Mr. Rooter plays a video game.
This is wonderful. A world where a plumber is the hero. My hat is off to you, Mario. Although I personally advise against eating any mushrooms found in a drain pipe. I won't make that mistake twice. All I've got to do now is hop over this Goomba and save the princess. What? No way. I pressed jump. I pressed jump.
For a super plumber with an all-time high score, call Mr. Rooter.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at The Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching Love Seater chair, up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture, plus save up to $700 off a big screen TV and get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year, and The Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details.
Need a truck? Want a great deal on a truck? Get into Wolf GMC Buick. It's GMC's Canada-wide clearance. Take advantage of 0% financing on Sierra half-tons. Oh, and guess what? GMC employee pricing is back on all in-stock 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons. That means thousands of dollars in savings on GMC Sierra 3/4 ton and 1 ton. Also thousands off the industry-leading SUV, the GMC Yukon. Get to Wolf GMC Buick now and drive away with money off and a smile on. Just off the Anthony Henday.
Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches. We provide our customers with the safest and most reliable ground transportation. Our seatbelt-equipped buses have become the preferred carrier for many local sports teams, tours, corporate outings, and other various travel across Western Canada. For more information and to request a quote, contact Ted Nakamura at 780-940-0880 or visit silentrides.ca.
Albertans are always on the go for work, for play, and from downtown to wide open spaces. Nobody keeps Albertans moving like Dedham Ford. They've delivered the service and value buyers want for over 65 years. Now, for a limited time, enjoy cash savings up to $16,000 or rates as low as 0% during Dedham Ford's Black Friday blowout. Keep life moving courtesy of where cars always cost less. Dedham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at dedhamford.ca.
Big news that'll fit your fencing needs and more to a T. Metal Supermarkets now carries 6-foot steel T-posts, studded or drilled. Perfect for snow fencing, ag fencing, garden fencing, all kinds of fencing.
En garde, monsieur.
Except that kind of fencing.
Oh, then I bid you adieu.
Plus, steel T-posts provide solid support for tree transplants. For details, see the convenience stores for Southside, West End, metalsupermarkets.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by UL. Get your power play amped up with UL, supplying the City of Champions and Alberta with quality electrical gear since 1975. UL.ca is your power play power partner in power.
Rolling through, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, one congrats with you, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Hey, Greggs, I know you're a big Trey Ford fan. I hear about his cost being easier on the Elks, but I agree with Farhan. The Elks have to hit the deck running, get the best QB and others in place. They can't afford to be a non-playoff team this coming year. Fans have had enough. Doug. Well, Doug, look at Trey Ford's record as a starter on a team that's not nearly as talented as BC. And then look at the second half of BC season with Adams. I like Adams. And I'll say this, though. Having known as Hervey as well as I know him, he's not just going to come in and be like, oh, my God, 1 year is what matters most. He's going to have a 5-year plan. And so he's going to look and say, who? And he also has the experience, remember, of acquiring Mike Riley, and look at how he built the contract for Mike Riley. Not going to have to pay much. So here's the thing. Trey Ford, because he's not as established yet, so you use that to your benefit. He'll have a contract that probably has some escalators. It's a different word, but that's what they use in the CFL, escalators instead of bonuses. That will have some, if he reaches certain stuff, then they'll get that. So if he reaches it, that means the team's played well, most likely. Then he'll reach his escalators. Great. And that also impacts his next year because it's a 2-year deal that has built in that he can make way more money in the second year. It's unlike NHL contracts. It's not like in the NHL, you sign a contract, you make your AAVs this, and you're guaranteed, you make $1 million the first year and 1.5. It's automatic, right? You can't change it. The CFL can actually change in the second year. It's very different. So I think he'll have experience with that. And if Trey Ford has a lower number, guess what? Now he has more money to fill out the other areas of his team. And clearly there's some other weaknesses on the team. I don't think quarterback play, well, at least when Trey Ford was in, was the reason they lost games. It wasn't. Look at his numbers. So I don't know. I looked at Vernon Adams down the stretch. Just go look at his numbers. That's what I would say. I'm not as high on Vernon Adams as other people are. So, well, you know what? We could be right on it. We could be wrong on it. We could be right. We'll see. But if it's me, it's Trey Ford all day long. So for a variety of reasons. Let's get to the 2-minute warning now with Cam Tate, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. The rates never change. If all of a sudden your furnace conks out this weekend, call Legacy. They'll fix it. No overtime charges. LegacyHeating.ca. And Cam Tate, the 2-minute warning. Of course, Tater, longtime journalist in town, has cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair. Has always wanted to be in radio, but due to his disability, wasn't possible until now through the wonders of technology. Cam Tate's words come to life in the 2-minute warning.
Oilers fans, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the rest of the month. Christmas too, for that matter. The entirety of the hockey season. You're going to be just fine. I saw it last night. It said so much about the Oilers, who came puffing and squirting. Yes, Uncle Pete. Squirting out of the start of this year's National Hockey League season. There's your word of the day. And at the end of this broadcast bonanza, Positive Friday too. I'm going to attempt to give you another word for squirting AMD, more importantly why. So let's grab a diet soda, grab a straw, and give this a go. In my sports writing career, I've always enjoyed and found interesting is how athletes celebrate after a big play. Or, interestingly enough, if the jump up and down, skate with your stick between your legs, all the way from the goal line to center ice.
Raise your right hand over there, Theo Fleury. Or Oregon. If you do anything at all, Brian Kelly, Edmonton Elks. Number 70 receiver, caught everything. Sure did. And Kelly, whose nickname was Howdy Doody, had a saying of what someone should do when they make, in his case, a big catch to make a big third down, to put the team in distance for a field goal, or to, on the last play of the game, catch the football to win the game. Kelly said, act like you've been there before. So as I settled into my Rogers Place press box seat, I was eager to see what Connor McDavid would do seconds after he scored his 1,000th point. Would he jump up and down? Would he raise his stick the air? Would he skate around the ice? And hang on here. What would that mean for the rest of the season? We saw it with a little over 2 minutes in the second period. McDavid's one-timer of a pass from Leon Draisaitl to give the Oilers their first goal to tie the score. 1-1. McDavid slowly skated to the corner. He smiled, and then pointed at Draisaitl, the guy who made it happen. He made sure everyone knew, including him. It was a team effort. To me, that was a profound example of leadership. Team building 101 and swept the word squirt into fire hose. Cam Tate's 2-minute warning. Monday, Friday. Gregor Radio Experience, Sports 1440.
Captured the moment fairly well. It was it's a moment that lots of people you could see that there's some people who are in that those first few rows right in the corner, right? Like you get to see the face of the players. Those are probably pretty memorable for those fans who are right down there, right? Those fans who are right behind the net to see the puck go in. They're like, yeah, like they're the first ones usually. So there's some special moments for different people all around the rink.
Did you see the interview with Mr. McDavid at intermission?
I did not.
And he was saying that Connor loves being in Edmonton. It was like the interview you'd like to hear Connor talk, but Dad kind of did it. He was like, he loves it here. He can't wait to win the cup.
He's not leaving Edmonton.
But it's good to hear it from Mr. McDavid, just like kind of how happy that everybody was for him. And you could tell Mr. McDavid was truly elated for his son. Like it was really cool to see. They're kind of a conservative family, right? They're not very emotional. And there's occasional moments where you see that Connor's just surpassing everybody's wildest expectations for him. It was cool to see Mr. McDavid glowing about it at intermission.
Yeah, you look at his dad. They showed it on the highlights. They were kind of, obviously to have the camera on the dad in the crowd. And, McDavid's having chances and you see his reaction. And obviously, any parent out there, it's a reminder. Yeah, Connor McDavid's a great player, but he's just a son like anybody else. And if your son or daughter is playing U9, U11, U13, and let's say they were going for their 10th goal of the season, whatever the number is at that time, right? You're in there and some parents are relaxed. Others are a little bit more into it. It all varies, but that's just being a parent. It doesn't change. Doesn't matter how great of a player your son or daughter is, what level they're playing at. That feeling of a parent just never changes. Right? You want to see them have success.
Mr. McDavid also said Mrs. McDavid was on the IR because she's had foot surgery.
Oh.
So that's why she wasn't at the game. So shout out to Mrs. McDavid.
Oh, I'm sure she was a little disappointed not being there.
An exemplary son she's raised.
Mm-hmm. When we return, Mark Spectre a little earlier today. We'll have Spec Report next. Then we got Craig Button, also Noodles, Lowetide. And we'll update you on our auction item and more on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Let's get to the con man. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire, where stop in right now and you're thinking, hey, look at it snowing. You're one of those people, maybe like me, who waited to change their winter tires. And you're scrambling. I don't even know where to put them. Well, guess what? They can store them for you right at Fountain Tire. Find a location near you at fountaintire.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
5 games on the ice tonight in the NHL, starting off with the Penguins and the Jackets. You also have the Avs hosting the Caps, Preds in Calgary, Utah hosting Vegas, and the Red Wings taking on the Ducks. The Oilers in action tomorrow, taking on the Leafs, who will be without their captain, Austin Matthews. In the association and the NBA Cup group play rolling on, the Toronto Raptors will host the Detroit Pistons tip off at 5 o'clock. You also got the Heat, Pacers, Magic, and the Sixers. The Bulls taking on the 13-0 Cavaliers. Knicks host the Nets, Nuggets in New Orleans. Thunder host the Suns, and the Grizz taking on the Warriors. The Edmonton Oil Kings on the road in Saskatoon taking on the Blades. That gets going just after 6 o'clock. In the BCHL, Crusaders hosting Blackballs and Salmon Arm in Spruce Grove taking on the Saints. Both those games starting at 7 o'clock. And in the AJGP hosting Camrose, Olds in White for Drayton Valley meets Bonnyville, and Devon takes on Lloydminster, number 4 ranked U of A Golden Bears hockey team on the road, taking on Regina at 6 tonight, tomorrow at 4. And number 8 seed Pandas will host Regina down at the Drake tonight at 7, tomorrow at 2. And at the Saddle Center this weekend, we've got Golden Bears volleyball. They'll take on the Huskies tonight, 7:30. Pandas also meeting Saskatchewan at 6. Coming up in Hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mark Spectre of Rogers Sportsnet, TSN's Craig Button, and we'll ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440. Stingray Radio Station. CKJR. Broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Ain't it beautiful?
There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here for Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Center. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Center's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit edmontonexpocenter.com today.
We now have a post-game show on Sports 1440. After the next game, tune in to Andrew Walker as he breaks down the game with you. The post-game show brought to you by the Ridge Social Eatery, St. Albert.
Hockey is back. And Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Need a truck? Want a great deal on a truck? Get into Wolf GMC Buick. It's GMC's Canada-wide clearance. Take advantage of 0% financing on Sierra half-tons. Oh, and guess what? GMC employee pricing is back on all in-stock 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons. That means thousands of dollars in savings on GMC Sierra 3/4 ton and 1 ton. Also thousands off the industry-leading SUV, the GMC Yukon. Get to Wolf GMC Buick now and drive away with money off and a smile on. Just off the Anthony Henday.
Need a solid foundation without the fuss? Richard and Kalina at DCL Pile Driving have your back. Locally owned, they offer straight, driven piles. No screwing around. Serving all of Alberta, DCL Pile Driving gets your foundation ready in hours with minimal ground disturbance. Perfect for tight spaces, whether it's for a deck, grain bins, or RTMs. Tell them the radio sent you and receive a special discounted rate. Call or text 587-322-PILE. DCL Pile Driving. Don't get screwed. Get piles driven.
Portions of this hour brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. The Canada-wide clearance is on now at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on a 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
Just after 4 o'clock. Welcome back. Gregor, Halley, Monia Gretz with you. Lovely Friday. Woo, the weekend is here. It's Pizza Friday, buddy. Love it. Always in a good mood. Can't wait. So, I know many of you will be, I'm playing video games right now with my son. We're into the Marvel on PS5. It's really the only game I know how to play, so I kind of like to play that one with him. So we have limited time. Like, we limit our time. So he likes to say, hey, why don't we just do it all in one day, once a week? I'm like, yeah, whatever. So Friday night.
How much time are you allowed in the Gregor household per week to play video games?
An hour.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not true. An hour during the week, and then on the weekend he gets an hour. So 2. But he gets an hour during the week. So that's, it can spread it out 50 minutes, whatever, here or there. So try to limit it. So otherwise, hey, I get it. Like, it's like adults. I'm like, we're addicted to our phones, or can be. So I could see how hard it is for a young, hey, turn off the video game. Yeah, right away. So, but it's good. He's into, he's got a little routine. He likes to do a few air squats and push-ups. He wanted to get stronger, so he's doing squats and push-ups. Now he's only doing 10 a day, but it's awesome.
It's the habit.
It's totally the habit, right? Make your bed, push-ups and squats. Now you've accomplished them before the day starts. So rock and roll. So it's good. Hey, speaking of young kids, if you're in Spruce Grove or you're going to the Saints game tonight, kids 12 and under get in free tonight for the game. So check it out. Also, you can get the 50-50 even if you don't go to the game. Saints5050.com. Nice. We do have lots of questions about the boxing match. I don't even know what to call it. The box, because it's not sanctioned by. Well, I guess it has to be sanctioned by something. I don't know how it works, Connor. We'll have to get. I'm going to get Declan on later.
It's sanctioned by the Netflix Boxing Association.
Yeah,
what more of a sanction?
It's true. Yes, Netflix Boxing Association. Nice. Specs must have covered some boxing matches in this time. Maybe, I would think, as a young buck when he had his big glasses. We'll find out. He joins us now on the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction. And everyone at GS just wanted to wish McDavid a happy 1,000th point from their owner, Prez Turan, and everybody at GS Construction. Mark Spectre joins us. Spec, you must have covered boxing as a young buck, no?
Yeah, I broke in at the Edmonton Journal, covered a whole bunch of boxing.
Yeah.
In fact, I was the beat writer here once for when Tyson came in to fight the Cold War against Buster Douglas.
Okay. All right. So you went to, did you go to that fight when he fought Buster Douglas?
No, because it was in Japan.
Oh, okay.
They canceled it here. Do you know why they canceled it? You remember the affliction that Mike Tyson was purported to have when they canceled the fight? Can anyone remember that?
Well, I remember them canceling, and people thought that Don King was a fraud from the get-go about it, but
they said that Tyson had costochondritis, which was like some kind of lung thing.
Oh.
I don't know. I think what happened here was the local promoters tried to kind of change the deal, and Don King was not interested in any change deal. He wanted them, Don King wanted to take 80%, leave 20% for everybody else.
Yeah.
And they got into a fight, and Don King took his fighter and went home.
Will you watch the Tyson Paul event tonight?
I think I will have it on tonight, just because it'll be fun to watch Mike Tyson. I come from a time when big fights, like when I was growing up, big fights. Everything stopped when there was a big fight.
Yes.
When Ali was fighting Fraser, when Hagler was fighting Leonard, or Hagler was, when there was a big fight, Foreman's fighting any of those guys. There was a bunch of heavyweights. There was Norton, there was Fraser, there was Foreman, there was Ali. Every once in a while, someone would fight Ernie Shaver, who punched harder than anybody. Those fights were a big deal, and we all stopped what we were doing and watched them back then. And now those days are gone. I can't name you any heavyweights anymore.
Yeah. Well, what about Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard? That was a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
I still remember that one. Like I think I was like 14 or 15. That's one of the early memories I have of a box. I just remember like Marvelous Marvin Hagler, sick name by the way, but God, like he had the shaved head back then, and he kind of looked like he was mean all the time. And him and Sugar Ray, that was an epic fight.
They had great fights, and same with who was the cat from Detroit that was in that trio that fought all the time.
Is that Spinks?
Sorry?
Are you talking?
No, not Spinks. The Spinkses were heavyweights. Tyson took apart one of them. Leon
Tommy Hearns?
Ali. Tommy Hearns, thank you very much. Okay. Tommy Hearns was
shout
he
out,
fought Hagler.
Shout out
Hearns
to
and Hagler
Declan.
had a couple of wicked scraps too.
Yeah, shout out to Declan, who was
thanks, Declan.
Screaming that one here in the studio. Attaboy, Deck. So, yeah. You know what? There were some great tilts. Now they're just, I don't know. There's still a few. There's obviously some good ones, but you're right. When the heavyweight division is good, I think boxing overall is better.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's like everything. It's the whole business kind of got watered down. It got spread out, and there used to be like hell. We're talking about a time when there was 3 channels. So when there was a fight on, that's what you were watching. Today, UFC is so grand, and they got different tours, and they're fighting once a week. And right, boxing has gone pretty much off the spectrum, right? They say that TV ratings for boxing in the States is like 80% Latino viewership.
Yeah.
And Americans, white America doesn't barely even watch boxing anymore. So anyway, listen, those were also the days when every, say, 3 or 4 months, Evel Knievel would do some massive jump. It'd be on for free on Wide World of Sports on Saturday afternoon, and we'd all go to the basement and watch him in Wembley Stadium jumping like 40 double-decker English buses or something. That stuff happened back then. Doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Spec, last night something happened that doesn't happen very often. A member of the Edmonton Oilers reaching 1,000 points as an Oiler. Connor McDavid becomes the 4th behind Gretzky, Curry, and Messier. Gretzky did it in Edmonton basically almost 40 years ago, December 19th, 1984. Curry did it in January of 1990 on the road. Messier did it in Philadelphia. Curry was in St. Louis. Messier did a year later in 1991 in January. And so now you had to wait a long time until McDavid did it, and the crowd was ready. They were excited for it. It was just a different feel in the building last night. There was a lot of nervous and more just like nervous energy, excitement, waiting for the inevitable point, and it came on a goal for McDavid from Draisaitl and Nurse. Like, you probably couldn't have scripted a better outcome for that goal for McDavid.
Yeah, no, it really was, and it was there wasn't any doubt here. Like, everybody going to that arena thought McDavid's going to get this point somehow, some way. You hoped it wouldn't be like an empty netter or something. And he was jumping already. I think he had 7 shots in the first 2 periods and had a wicked goal. He doesn't score in a lot of one-timers from Draisaitl. It's usually the other way around, but just a really, really, just a solid hockey night. Like, if not for that, Jay, that's just another Thursday night against Nashville in November. And McDavid transformed that night into a night that none of us are going to forget. And you know what? I'm appreciative to have a team and a guy in town that can put that kind of show on for you, because there's a lot of people going to a lot of rinks that don't get to watch guys like McDavid very often.
Or Draisaitl. And there's lots of guys.
Draisaitl.
The Oilers are they got a lot of really good players. And, Draisaitl, in on both goals. Darnell Nurse has, great game, 2 goals and an assist. His 6th overtime goal. He's now 1 shy of Yari Curry and he's currently 4th all time. The only 2 guys ahead of him are McDavid and Draisaitl, and they ain't catching those 2. But, it probably end up 3rd highest on the list for the Oilers. And, it was another game, Spec, where they probably should have had that game put away before Nashville ties it. Like, their struggles offensively still are real. And Connor, after we talked about all the great things about the game and everything, I did have to ask him about the offense. He's like, yeah, it's still not as crisp and clean as we'd like.
No, they're not. Certainly a lot of the depth guys, Zach Hyman, the struggle is real for Zach Hyman, man. It is just not going in for him, and he's getting chances. And it's, that play where he jams down low in the crease and McDavid fires a puck across and it just banks in off him. It's banking out off him right now. Like, he just cannot get a puck to go in. So that's a big one. That's a 54-goal scorer last year who's really, he's not struggling. Like, he's getting chances, but it's not going in. The Henrique line is not that productive. They had a couple nice games, but, you need more out of your depth guys. So, yeah, I tell you that, McDavid and Draisaitl have been carrying this team a little bit offensively. That's not a surprise, but it won't last forever. They're going to need some help here at some point.
Well, they're top 6 guys more than anybody else. Arvidsson, Skinner, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins. They got to score way more than they've been scoring. Right now, Pod Colson's playing there, so I'd throw him on that list because I guess he's playing there more than Skinner. But, your third line can contribute, but Mattias Janmark has 7 points. I'm not sure what more I expect from that guy, to be honest. I know he's only 1 goal, but, Brown's got 3 goals. So, as a third line guy, he's well on pace for 15, which is fine numbers. To me, it's really top 6 wingers. I'm putting a big, you could collectively put them all on a milk carton box and say, hey, you guys just need to do more. We're into game 17 here.
Yeah, for sure. Pod Colson doesn't even have a goal yet.
Yeah.
Skinner can't hold his place on the line. The coach keeps demoting him. And Nugent Hopkins has to be better than this. It's just not. It's not happening for him. He's not. And I don't see him, either getting a lot of chances or creating a ton of chances either. So yes, you no question. Arvidsson's working his way in. I thought in Vancouver, Arvidsson was one of the best players on the ice.
Agreed.
And now he's been, then he got hurt. So let's see what happens. Maybe he's coming now. But no, you got it, pal. Those guys all get paid to score. And even Pod Colson, I like his game a lot. I love how he's playing. I love all the things he's doing. But it can't be 0 goals. Something has to go in when you're playing next to Leon Draisaitl every night.
Yeah, like last night, he had another great chance and just put it wide of the net, right? He came in, he was doing everything right to get to the scoring opportunity, just not finishing, as Mark Spectre joins us. Spec, the one thing, kind of quietly, people aren't talking about it, but Darnell Nurse and Brett Kulak, I think, have been the Oilers' best defenseman here for the last 10 games.
Well, for sure. Darnell Nurse has been one of their, Kulak's doing what he does. He's been elevated, and it hasn't scared him a bit. He's playing every bit as good in the second pair as he always does in the third. But for me, the story here is becoming Nurse. I think Nurse has been good all year, and he finally got a couple. He got a couple goals last night. I'm not worried about Nurse scoring goals. His play has been excellent this year, and I know there's a lot of people in the city that just can't get enough of beating up on Darnell Nurse. But you better be able to stomach the fact that he's playing a solid brand of defense this year. And so far, so good. Anyhow, he's been very good. And, I don't know what to say to you. We shouldn't have to defend ourselves when we say Darnell Nurse is a good player. But somehow in this town you do, and I don't really get it. How about you?
Yeah, hey, Nurse can... I think what happens is people have made their mind up on Nurse, the things they don't like. Oh, he missed a pass. So every time he misses a pass, they remember that. They forget the 10 passes you just made or the really good defensive play where the guy did nothing around him and they don't notice it. And so those people, it's not going to change. But I thought the first 5 games, I didn't love Darnell Nurse's game. I thought he made some decisions, but he also didn't play preseason. And just like Ekholm last year, it took him a while. But I think now that he's up to speed, I think Nurse has looked really good. And if you actually, I judge it on minutes played. He's basically played the exact same amount of minutes as Bouchard and Ekholm here for last 10. And minutes, time on ice is a pretty indicator of where the coach, because when he wasn't playing well, he wasn't playing those minutes. Now he is.
Oh, what you're telling me then is that Paul Coffey likes his game a lot too, right? Because Coffey's in charge of the defense. And if Coffey knows a good defenseman better than you and I combined and most of the fan base. So if Coffey's happy with Nurse's game, that's a good thing. And it's got to be said, at 9.25, you darn well better be happy with his game. He's paid a lot of money. He should be a good player. But at this point, I think there's certainly a lot of biases. Like I can think of a shift last night where he botched 2 zone exits and they got pinned in their zone for a while. But guess what? I can think of that with Bouchard. I've seen that with Ekholm. It happens, man. Like it's a hard game and players are good and the other team's trying to and all that stuff. So it's not going to be perfect, right? It's not going to be perfect, but by and large, I think Nurse has been excellent this season. It bodes well for what's to come.
They go into Toronto, no Matthews, unfortunate for storylines and such. But so without, their best player, that's a game where you look and say, hey, Edmonton, find a way to win.
Yeah, sure. You get another team. First of all, the Oilers have been better on the road than they've been at home this year.
It's true.
And you get another team that doesn't have their best guy. They're vulnerable, right? They're missing. I know they had Willie Nylander playing center ice at practice this morning. So that's a strange position for him. And you know what? The Oilers got beat up pretty good in Toronto last year, as I recall.
Oh, yes, they did.
Didn't they? As I recall.
Yeah.
It's a goofy place, Toronto, because there's so many Southern Ontario kids on the Oilers, men on the Oilers, and they all have, they're there now. They probably arrived like an hour ago, and everyone's parents want to see them, and everyone's brothers and sisters want to see them, and instead of this being a quiet night and rest up for a game, it's hard not to have it be a very busy night for those guys. And I think sometimes it shows in the game they play tomorrow. Is that fair?
Yeah, potentially. I think there's a little extra juice sometimes too. So we'll see how they react. But they are playing well. They should go in there with a lot of confidence. And no Matthews. Hey, you take McDavid out of the Oilers lineup doesn't mean you can't win. We saw him win twice without him. But he's out of the lineup. That just does make him a little bit more susceptible. And I think for the Oilers, you win that game. Like, to me, good road trips, you win 2 out of 3. And Montreal, to me, should be the must-win game of the road trip because they're terrible. And, you win one at Toronto or Ottawa. And if you win the one in Toronto, and, now you got a chance maybe to sweep. So, tomorrow, McDavid usually gets up for those games in Toronto. And I think there was a lot of hype and excitement about the 1,000 points. So you wonder, is there a little bit of a drain from that game? So we'll see how it is. Maybe going into Toronto is the best thing.
Yeah, you're right about that, because there's no way to not have energy going into Toronto. Guys love playing there. It's a Saturday night game. No one's coming out flat. Sometimes, I've seen an Oilers team that just tries to go in there and score 4 goals in the first period, and they come out of it down 3-0. I've seen that happen before, but they don't go in there and play a flat, disinterested hockey game. And as for McDavid, the trajectory of his game right now, like, he just played his 3rd dominant hockey game last night. He's really going now, and we all, it's no secret, man. When McDavid's going like that, he picks this team up and they follow right behind. So they're a tough team to play when McDavid's doing what he's doing right now.
Spec, great stuff, my man. Have a good weekend. We will chat with you on Monday.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
There's Mark Spectre. The Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. Taylor Swift concerts are in Toronto. Hotels in Toronto are now like 3-4 times, like $1,200 a night. And so she plays 3 shows, then she's off for a few days, then she plays 3 more, and then she comes to Vancouver, and that ends her tour, and she's ending it in Canada. So good. Congrats to all those who are going, because I know that Taylor Swift is kind of a big deal for lots of people. Maybe some of you don't listen to the show, and that's fine. But she's very successful and is very popular, and people are paying oodles of money to see her perform. And she performed, like, her shows are long. Like, she does not mail it in.
3.5 hours.
Yeah. Sometimes close to 4. So she puts on a show for sure. When we come back, did you know Craig Button, Gene Principe quite often get mistaken for one another in airports? Lots of fans come up, hey, can you sign this? Right? Gene had a guy, Gene was telling the story the other day, so I'm going to tell Butts about it. It's probably because, they see their hair, right? And it's, they both got the tight curls. That Gene was in an airport, and kid came up to him, hey, can you sign this? But there's a picture of Craig Button. And so Gene's like, well, that's not me. And the dad got all mad at him. Why don't you just sign it? He's like, well, it's not me.
Who's walking around with 8x10s of Craig Button?
Hey, dude, that's what I do. Like, I have to ask Butts. Like, was he selling them or something? We'll find out next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Use the promo code Gregor, and you'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the original, the Orangesicle, and the Marathon, made with cranberries, bananas, strawberries, orange sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment is an innovative market leader across Western Canada, with sports and entertainment properties including the Spruce Grove Saints, the Junior Prospects Hockey League, Silent Rides Charter Company, the Hockey Super League, and the newly launched Female Super League. Silent Ice also owns the Western Hockey League Seattle Thunderbirds and operates the Morinville AAA Arena. The Silent Ice Center, a new state-of-the-art entertainment facility, is open in Nisku, which features 2 sheets of ice, including a 1,600-seat arena and a restaurant with a viewing area.
Are you an HVAC or refrigeration company stressed about meeting your customers' temporary refrigeration needs? No need to worry. The solution is easy. Think Easy Chill Rentals. For repair, maintenance, or even special events, Easy Chill Rentals guarantees you a no-hassle, short or long-term solution for your refrigeration needs. Easy Chill provides mobile walk-in coolers and freezers to customers all over Western Canada. For sales and rentals, don't sweat it, just chill. With Easy Chill Rentals. Visit easychillrentals.com today.
Gateway Toyota treats us like we're precious gems.
Because that's what we are.
Every vehicle purchased from Gateway Toyota includes enrollment into their GEM program. It stands for Gateway Exclusive Membership.
And it gives you 5-year access to over $2,500 in benefits.
Free oil changes.
Free tire and windshield repair.
Free car washes.
Even an annual detailing.
You'll also get special discounts, trade-in bonuses, and referral rewards.
I feel like a gem.
At Gateway Toyota, just off Calgary Trail at Ellerslie Road.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We have for sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantork.com.
Positive Friday. How are you? We continue on. Gregor, Halley, Wanye, Gretz on a lovely Friday afternoon. Boxing fans, UFC fans, got a big heavyweight tilt there. Of course, you got the Grey Cup on Sunday. The Bombers. Little intrigue here. They can win their 3rd and 5. This will be their 5th straight appearance in the Grey Cup. Or they could become the Buffalo Bills of the CFL and lose 3 in a row. Woo, that would be a tough one. Tough one. Oilers and Leafs on Saturday night. Oilers are then in Montreal for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' 900th career game on Monday night in Montreal. So a few milestones coming up. Let's get to Around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. And just remember Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Fan Day deals at McDonald's. Through the app, $4 Big Macs, $4 McChicken, $4 filet of fish. But only through the app on the Fan Days, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. As we welcome in Craig Button from TSN, former NHL GM and scout. Butts, how you doing?
I am good, Jason. How are you doing?
Good. Now, before we get to hockey, I'm hearing that you and Gene Principe get people think you're one another at times. Have you had people come up to you and say, "Hey, Gene"?
Well, absolutely. I was in Hawaii a couple of years back. I don't know how many years back, and this young kid came up to me and he said, "Mr. Principe, could I have your autograph?" And I said, "I'm not Mr. Principe." So the kid left, and it was a red eye from Hawaii back to Calgary. So, it's about 10:30 at night, and you know how Hawaii can be. You get that extra day, so you're having some fun. Anyway, about 10 minutes later, the kid's father, as I found out, so he goes, "Why do you have to be call me a jackass?" So what are you talking about? He goes, "Oh, my kid was wanting an autograph. You don't want to give him an autograph." I said, "Well, no." He asked me if I was Mr. Principe. So he goes, "You're going to carry this on?" I took out my license and I showed him, and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I told Gene that, and it happens to me. It happened. We were in Winnipeg last year for the Edmonton Oilers game, and Winnipeg. I was doing a broadcast for TSN, and he was there with Sportsnet. We did a little thing where we were both on the air. So it happens quite often. But hey, listen, at least I'm being compared. Some people compare me to the Grinch. they call me the mayor of Whoville. So when I get compared to Gene, that's a positive.
Dude, I love the guy. Are you going to continue this? Being myself? Yes, I am. That's awesome. I guess, Craig, to segue. I have a strong suspicion Connor McDavid will continue to be dominant. 2 years ago, I crunched the numbers and thought that he was going to get to 2,000 points. And a few people were like, what are you talking about? And because I feel like he's going to play till he's 40. He could play till he's 43 or 4, honestly. The great players play longer now than ever. They're able to maximize their abilities more with the advancements in education and training, nutrition and sleep stuff and all these. And like you look at McDavid and, fourth quickest to 1,000. It's very impressive, but it's more impressive when you look at how much quicker he was and all the guys that he's battling against in his own era. Nathan McKinnon, who's unreal, is going to come in like 190 games more. Crosby was 98. Malkin was almost 200. Ovi was more than 200. That's where it really kind of stands out how dominant he's been.
Yeah, well, and I think the word dominant is the one we use when we talk about Connor. So I guess the first thing I would say to you, Jason, is I'm not going to bet against Connor McDavid getting to 2,000 points. It's also the way the game is played too, right? The game doesn't have this kind of like bearing down, pound on you type of situation that other players in the past had to go through.
Yeah.
I'm talking about pre-05.
Yes.
And so that in and of itself, listen, the style of the game has helped Crosby get to 1,600 points. It's going to help Ovechkin get to 1,600 points.
Mm-hmm.
And, you think about, those two great players and you dominant Connor McDavid. Barring any injury, we're probably talking when he's 36, 37, so maybe he's closing in on 2,000 points.
Oh, yeah. I think for sure. He'll be at 1,100 by the end of the season. No question, right? And then
you're right.
Where could he go after that? If he might get there even quicker, which would be exciting for a lot of people. You look at him, and I think it's too early. The one thing I agree, Patrick Watt, after they lost, he was like, did you see what happened in overtime? He goes, I can't be mad at my team. Those are just two great guys. There's not much you can do. But then he also said it was a little too early to want to compare McDavid to Lemieux and Gretzky because his career's not over. And I thought that was very smart to do because right now it's a projection of where you think his career is going to go. And we all I think we can make a safe assumption, but until you get to those numbers, you can't really put him in the same category.
Yeah, well, and so Patrick, who has perspective on that, playing against both those players, playing with both of those players, understanding how great they were, and certainly understanding how great Connor McDavid is. To his point, hey, listen, I got to be happy with my team, but at the same time, we got beat by two special players, and I think when you come at it through that lens, through the lens of Patrick. Playing and certainly watching it as a coach and being around the game, it's easy for us to project, right? But there's going to come a time, and let's go back and let me just use this example. No, I don't think there's any question Crosby has put himself in the conversation as one of the great 5 players of all time. 5 years ago, we might not have been talking about that. We were talking about could he be that guy? Now, Connor McDavid is probably after just passing 1,000 points. We can talk about him potentially being that guy, and we can believe that he will be that guy. But probably, to Patrick's point, let's let time unfold here. And I think as we let time unfold, Connor will take care of the rest. To be straightforward with you, though.
Yes, no, I think if I was making a safe assumption, I think Connor McDavid in the top 5 is a foregone conclusion, and we'll be top 2 or 3. Some people might have him in 1, and you know what, that'll be a great conversation and debate for people to look. And I know they use adjusted air and all those things, but they don't take into account, as you talked about, the style of play. It's not just about goals scored. It can't just be the style of play, sleep room. Guys used to fly coach. They're on chartering all around. Yeah. Nutrition. Guys, lots have just changed. Overall, and it's sad in a sense that in the sports world, our athletes are more finely trained and better nutrition than ever before. But in society, we're worse off because we have way more junk food for everybody else. And it's kind of too bad.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it, I don't want to, I mean, we talk about, society and everything, and a lot of that has to do with socioeconomic stratas, and junk food becomes cheaper than, healthy food. So anyway, that's a separate thing. It's interesting, Jason. I remember, I think it was around 2001, maybe 2002. I was still the manager in Calgary. And, we had the University of Calgary, this sport department. Unbelievable what they did, training Olympic athletes over the years and everything. And we were trying to think about, how we could advance, different things we could do. But this was, I still remember this moment. Like, it was like the players drove so much of the innovations. And I remember talking to Jerome Ginla, and it was 02 because it was Marty Jelena, and that's when we got it. But talking to the players, and they were talking about how they reached out, how they worked at trying to get, better technology, better training, better nutrition. They were driving it. They were the ones driving it. Not it was driven from the bottom up, not the top down. And that's changed now.
Right.
And it's one of those things that, like, you think about it, like, why were we not being leaders in helping the athletes? Because that's what you did with Olympic and national team athletes.
Right.
But we weren't doing it with the NHL players.
That's a great point. So, yeah, it's something that, nowadays they've got a lot of it, which is fantastic at all levels. So, and we're slowly getting there and more in overall in society too, which is nice. But you look at the orders now, and, they've won 3 in a row. It's great. Their top 2 dogs are killing it. Their defense, Kulak and Nurse and Ekholm and Bouchard are producing points. But their top 6 wingers, Craig, they got to get going here. Hyman, Arvidsson, although he scored a little bit lately. Nugent Hopkins hasn't done much pretty much all season long. Skinner's been up and down. Podkolzin doesn't have a goal when he plays there. Like, those are the 4 guys. And I watched again last night, and right now the Oilers' top 6 wingers are unbelievable at hitting goalies in the chest and in the pads. And so maybe that's just they're gripping the sticks too tight, because the chances are there, but their finish is still not remotely to where it should be when you look at expected goals and shots for and everything else.
Yeah, they're right at the top of the league when it comes to expected goals, and which is process, right, is what you're talking about. But you better be careful about falling in love with a good process. Now, if you're Chris Knobloch and the coaching staff, you can say, okay, listen, we're doing the right things. But you have to work the last 15%, which is results.
Yes.
You can't just keep contributing to a goaltender save percentage and going, yeah, but I'm getting good looks. You got to finish, and you got to put the puck in the net, and that's something. So the first part of it is that your positive process. Second part of it is the positive process doesn't matter if you don't get results. It won't.
Mm-hmm.
And you hang on it, and you better be careful about hanging on that, because we're just about reaching the quarter point of the season, and when you reach that point of the season, and you're still not getting the results, now it becomes a little bit more concerning. So, you'd be a little bit more forgiving now, and because they've had some good chances. And Jason, like, this team defensively has been really good. Like, I mean, their process defensively is good. You know it. You have all the metrics, and I mean, they are. And if they start to get production from those players, they're going to be that much more difficult to beat.
Craig Button from TSN joins us. Craig, Austin Matthews injury, day to day now, it's all of a sudden 5 games. How concerning should this be for Leafland?
Without knowing what the injury is, it's hard to say, like, how concerned you should be. I don't know if it's a knee. I don't know if it's an ankle. I don't know if it's a Charlie horse. I just don't know what it is. But when Austin Matthews has been plagued by these, what I would call these little stretches of short-term injuries over the course of his career at different points. And so I guess what I do is hold out the optimism that it's one of those types of things. I mean, he had the wrist. I know he's had some of those issues in the past, but I think that, whatever it is, I don't think it's at the concerning points. 5 games, 6 games, if we get into double-digit games and he's not playing, here's where I have the most concern. He still isn't practicing.
Right.
That tells me that he's a little bit more injured than we may realize. And probably a little bit further away than maybe people realize as well.
Yeah, and that's totally valid. And so that, it's too bad for the league. You want the best players involved, no question. The other few teams that are in, the Jets start's been unbelievable for them. They don't seem to have any real weaknesses at all. But I want to get your thoughts, Craig, on the one team who I'm still I don't know what they are. The Boston Bruins have had stretches of good, and then they're 8-2. They played more games, which puts them ahead of Tampa and Ottawa and Buffalo and them. But they're 500 through 18 games. Where are you on the Bruins?
I think they're going to be in a tough spot. I think they're going to be in a dogfight to make the playoffs. So if we go back, Jason, and we just talked about where the Bruins are. First of all, they're not a very good defensive team. They weren't a very good defensive team last year. Allmark and Swayman, really covered up a lot of the defensive mistakes. They're a worse defensive team this year. Okay, so that's one thing. Outside of David Pastrnak, and Brad Marchand's a good player. I mean, just a little bit older. How much more skill do they have after those two guys?
Yeah.
I'm talking about pure skill. I'm talking about skill that you go out and go, geez, they can overall. Yeah, they'll grind you and they'll play physical and they'll, dump the puck in and cycle and everything. But they don't have a lot of skill in their forward group.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big problem. I think it's a huge problem for them. And that's why I think they'll be in a dogfight.
I like it. Will you watch the Tyson Paul fight tonight?
No, I won't. I won't, because there's an intrigue to it, and actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna tap into it. It's intrigue, to see, where Mike Tyson is at. I mean, we're talking about Mike Tyson is one of the greatest boxers that ever fought, and when we talk about his ability to intimidate and then his ability to go out and just obliterate, he did both those things, and I guess, I'm going to watch. I want to see.
Okay. All right.
Are you going to watch it?
No. I'll watch the highlights. I'm not going to lie about that because I know I'll see him on the highlights, but I don't know. I can't. My skepticism of anything surrounding Paul being a legit fight is why I'm just like, man, they're wearing 14-inch gloves, not 10-inch gloves. Now they've changed to 2-minute rounds. I don't know. And I wonder, is if Mike Tyson, I know he's 58, but power is the last thing to go in elite fighters. And the one thing Mike Tyson always had was power. And so to me, if you're going up against a guy who's not a professional boxer, okay, he's picked up and he's fought some guys, MMA guys who aren't boxers. I'm talking legit boxer. Mike Tyson at 58 still, if he got in there and does boxing, he would dominate him. So if he doesn't dominate him, I question the validity of it. And maybe that's wrong on me, and maybe I'm a skeptic and it's terrible, but I can't get over that. So I'm I can't convince myself to do it.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I guess what I would say is because of what you just said, I think this could be over in the first 2 minutes. Because you don't forget how to box. You lose your quickness, you lose some speed, but to your point, you lose power. And Mike Tyson, he gets back into his element in the ring, and and everything just kind of starts to come to the fore. So anyway, that's it. I saw Gordie Howe play a game with the Detroit Vipers.
Yep.
Back in the IHL, which was a sixth decade playing hockey, and I saw him play his last game in the NHL in the Montreal Forum. I was there the night he played against the Montreal Canadiens in 1980, in the 79-80.
Yep.
Anyway, that means I remember years later going and watching him in Detroit. And did I want to go watch Gordie Howe? Not really, but was I intrigued by going and watching Gordie Howe? Yeah. And I think the hardest thing is knowing what Gordie Howe did and how great he was, and then watching him. And I think that's there was an intrigue because he was so great, but at the same time, it's wow, you don't want to be left with that memory.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Totally fair. Yeah, because anybody who thinks, hey, I never got to see Tyson in his prime. I'm like, yeah, well, you're not going to see him in his prime tonight either.
Yeah, you're not. Right. Yeah. Well, I guess it's masters boxing, right? That's what it is now. It's a masters boxing match.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. Great stuff. Hey, speaking of fights, Gadjevich had one of the best week of fights we've seen in a long time. Like, if people haven't, his fight with Brendan Dillon was unbelievable. And then did you see his shot on McDermott last night? Like, oh my! And McDermott's a big dude.
Wow. Here's what always amazes me. And Craig Ramsey used to say this. He goes, and he used to tell me, he goes, Craig, think about these big guys, and they stand right in there and they give and they get. And they sometimes get more than they give, but they give as good as they get.
Yeah.
And he goes, you think about them, and that's when I was watching the Gadjevich Dillon fight, all I could think about was Craig Ramsey telling me that. And boy, I mean, we can debate fighting and everything. It's in the game and everything. But boy, that's courage. I'll tell you what, that's courage.
Oh, 100%. Craig, great stuff as always, man. Have an awesome weekend. We'll chat with you next Friday.
We will, for sure. Go Bombers.
There you go. Craig Button from TSN has the Bombers. We'll come back. 5 questions. Jason Gregor, Wanya Gretz, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m. Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
We all live in Canada, right? And we all know it gets cold, right? And every second that ticks by, it gets colder and colder. Well, GS Construction is prepared for that. GS Construction is the group that makes sure all those underground pipes that lead to and away from your home stay flowing. Because pipes freeze. You don't want that. So GS Construction has been hard at work as winter approaches, preparing our underground systems to run smoothly. To find out more, visit gsconstruction.ca.
Get ready to revolutionize your job site with Edmonton Kubota's game-changing compact construction equipment. From mini excavators and skid steers to track loaders, carriers, and utility vehicles, they have a model to fit every need, all powered by legendary Kubota diesel engines. These machines are built for performance and reliability. Transform your work with Edmonton Kubota's top-of-the-line compact equipment. Visit them today and see why they're the name you can trust for power and precision.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at The Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining room furniture. Plus, save up to $700 off a big screen TV and get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year and The Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Mr. Culligan. For all your residential needs, your local water treatment company, more than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
Mike is in at 1300 for our Bruce Springsteen. We have 4 loge seats next Tuesday night. If you want in, 833-401-1440. Of course, as always, donate them to charity, which is fantastic. Well, they're not tickets, your money. Go to charity, which is great. 833-401-1440 if you want to get in. Now, let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick, we're saving you more. It's what they do. Right now, they'll beat any competitor's price on appliances by 20% of the difference. And also, Black Friday pricing is on right now. In the electronics department, you can save up to $700 on a TV. So if you want to make your viewing pleasure more enjoyable, go to The Brick or thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys, coming off the 1,000-point night. If Connor McDavid were to retire today, fill in the blank. He's a top blank player of all time.
If he retired today, he'd be top 10.
That's what I say, too. When he eventually retires, I think he'll be top 2.
I like it. Question number 2 for you guys. Oilers heading out on a quick 3-game road trip to Eastern Canada. How many points do they come back with after the games against the Leafs, Canadians, and Sens?
You talked about this earlier, Gregor. I think they're going to have to smash the Habs and then win one of the other 2, 4 out of 6 points.
Yeah, I think, you know what, that would be a good road trip. A great road trip would be if they managed to get 5 or 6. But so I think they should beat Toronto and Montreal. Ottawa, honestly, for whatever reason, that's a tough place for them. And Ottawa's actually playing decently well right now. So, be third night in 4 games, second of a back-to-back. I'll say 4.
Question number 3. We got the Grey Cup on Sunday. PlayAlberta.ca has the Bombers as 9.5-point favorites. So with the spread included, who's your pick? And then also, if you're going to a watch party, you got to bring one food item. What are you bringing?
I think that Winnipeg's on fire right now. This is the year of Winnipeg between the Jets and now the Bombers being in the Grey Cup. So I think they're going to win. They can't be stopped. I wouldn't call it food, Connor, but I would bring a keg of Nation beer now available. And I would eat that at the watch party. A keg of beer.
Bombers 9. Oof. I don't see a ton of blowouts in the Grey Cup. So it's a really good spread because it's gone down because it was 10.5 early in the week. So no, but man, the Nick Arbuckle factor. I'm going to take the Bombers and the points. I'll take that. And then if I'm bringing one food to a party, I would bring, I can't bring nachos. I guess you could, and then you'd have to make them there, though. But I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to show up at the party and be like, hey, I got to use your oven and stove. No. So I will bring, because everybody else will bring trips. I love veggie platters. I love them with good dip. So that's what I'm bringing. Veggie platter with 2 different types of dip, including our homemade dill dip.
Question number 4 for you guys. We talked about this on Fantasy Frenzy. If you were a boxer going on the event like tonight, what would be the song playing as you walk to the ring?
Oh, man. Wanye?
Probably the theme for Full House. Remember Full House, Gregor? TGIF?
Mm-hmm.
Remember Full House?
Yeah.
I think it would just throw my opponent. They'd be like, what? I'm like, that's right. Whatever happened to predictability?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing, because I remember, and Declan probably would know, but there was a boxer who used to have kind of almost, because most of them you come out and it's really heavy and strong songs, but there was the one, and I can't remember who it was, who used to have very mellow music, right? And people are like, what is going on? But he liked to stay calm, because not everybody loves the right, maybe Till I Die from Machine Gun Kelly or something like that, right? Or Thunderstrucks. So, but I would probably go a walkout song. I would go I would want something upbeat, a little bit of fun. I would go House of Pain, Jump Around.
Do you remember when Mike Tyson came out wearing the towel around his neck when he'd just gotten out into prison? And I think his entry song was just a gonging. That's probably the most intimidating person I've ever seen in my life on TV.
He had some great walkouts. I remember when he used to wear that bearskin rug, and it was a fur coat, but when he'd come out with that, and he just was his eyes looked like you were just looking right through a human being. So he was pretty intense.
There were guys he was fighting throughout his career. I was watching intros the other day on YouTube. They look like they wish they were anywhere but in a ring with Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Well, remember the Prince? He used to have some of the best, not Prince the artist, but Prince he was the British professional boxer. I can't remember his last name, but he used to have some epic walkouts, right? All flamboyant. Sometimes they were carrying him out, right? He was a king or a prince, right? He'd have the 4 guys, the huge guys carrying him out in his chair. Like, to me, boxing, that was great when, like, some of the entries, that was the best part. It's all part of the show that goes into it. And I think like a great stuff like that is awesome. Like in, even in mixed martial arts, the best ones I find are, get people involved. You want to have a really good walkout.
Do you think because Jake Paul's bringing a whole new audience into boxing, which is kind of in decline, that you could make an argument this is ultimately good for the sport? Or do you think this is just a final lap for a sport on its way out?
I'm not. Boxing is in North America isn't great. In other parts of the world, boxing is still massive and dwarfs MMA. It's only in North America, and so we get sometimes narrow-minded into thinking, well, boxing's on the way down. Boxers are still out drawing and out making money compared to many other athletes. It's not even close. So. No, I think Jake Paul, you know what Jake Paul is? He brings in the American people who don't like real boxing because they don't have any great Americans right now. That's just a fact, right? Like a lot of the best boxers that used to be on the streets, you'd go with the big kids boxing. Well, now they're going into football, right? They're doing different things. So to me, this is a sign of America's given up on boxing, so they go to a sideshow clown. That's what they're doing.
Final question today is Steve Irwin Day. Of course, passed away back in 2006. The Crocodile Hunter's legacy lives on.
2006?
Yeah, coming up on 20 years. If you were an animal lover like him, you're working in the zoo. Which animals or section would you want to be in?
Oh, buddy, I love animals. If I'm working in the zoo, I think it would be great to work with the chimpanzees because they're pretty smart. But then I'd also want to work with the penguins because they're ultra cute and then be funny.
The chimps, though, you might like identify too much with them. Remember Harambe? Remember how upsetting that was to everybody? I wouldn't want to risk an animal I could have an attachment to emotionally, like a groundhog or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I was a farmer for a long time, and I love my animals, but there was always there's still a business side of it to me. So as much as I named every animal, Dumont, all that stuff was great, but I still, I don't think I would get that attached.
We took Wanye Jr. to the Valley Zoo, which is a lovely place.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was like maintenance day, all the animals were into self-care. Literally all we saw was a groundhog. And he's like, the zoo isn't what I thought it would be. I'm like, son, you are not wrong.
No, that day wasn't good. Well, you got to go back though. Just like, if you have, just teach Wanye Jr. at a young age. Just because you have a bad experience once doesn't mean every experience is going to be the same.
Wise words.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. Otherwise, none of us would ever date again. When we come back, a gentleman who he's a very weird palate, but which maybe is not a surprise because he's a former goalie. Well, he's still a goalie, but he's a former NHL goalie. Jamie McLennan will join us next. We'll preview the Leafs and the Oilers. Also, he does the color analyst for the Sens, so we'll talk a little Senators double dip of the Oilers, 2 of their 3 opponents on their upcoming road trip after a Connor Halley Sports 1440 update brought to you by the Alberta GMC dealers. The Canada-wide clearance is on now at Alberta GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on a 2024 Sierra 1500 crew cab elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
5 games on the ice tonight in the NHL. The Penguins in Columbus. Avs host the Caps. Flames taking on the Preds. Golden Knights travel to Salt Lake City, and it's the Ducks hosting the Detroit Red Wings in the association. The Raptors in action as NBA Cup group play rolls on. They'll host the Pistons in a couple minutes here. They'll also the Sixers in Orlando. The Pacers host the Heat, Bulls, Cavs as the Cavs try to look to go 14-0 to start the season. Knicks up against the Nets, Clippers in Houston, and the Pelicans taking on the Nuggets. The Edmonton Oil Kings on their road tonight out in Saskatoon taking on the Blades. Puck drop just over an hour away. In the BCHL, you got the Crusaders hosting Black Balls and Salmon Arm in Spruce Grove taking on the Saints. Both those games, 7 o'clock start. Number 4 ranked U of A Golden Bears hockey team on the road tonight in Regina. That'll be going just over an hour. They'll also play tomorrow at 4. The number 8 Pandas will host Regina down at the Drake. Puck drop tonight at 7, tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon at the Saville Center. This weekend, you got Golden Bears volleyball taking on the Huskies tonight, 7:30. The Pandas will meet Saskatchewan just after 6. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by former NHLer and NHL on TSN analyst Jamie McLennan, as well as Alan Mitchell, the host of The Lowdown with Lowetide. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there, now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Marathon, the Original, and the Orangesicle, made with oranges, orange sorbet, and vanilla frozen yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Day or night, tasting just so right. You can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle noodle.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need: Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit FemaleSuperLeague.com.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at The Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching Love Seater chair, up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture, plus save up to $700 off a big screen TV. And get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year, and The Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details.
The Nissan All-In Clear-Out event is on now, where you can lease or finance select remaining 2024 Rogue from 0.99% for 24 months. Plus, qualified Nissan owners may receive up to $500 in loyalty bonus. Go all in with the Nissan Rogue and enjoy the 1.5-liter VC turbo engine for a perfect balance of power and efficiency. And with standard all-wheel drive, you're ready for wherever the drive takes you. Conditions apply. Quantities limited. See Nissan.ca for details.
Visit your local Edmonton and area Nissan dealer for more information.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
You're listening to The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows, locally manufactured and installed. Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
rolling through a lovely, positive Friday. How are you? Enjoy the snow. Drive safe. Be a little slick on the road, so make your way home. You got lots of time. You made it through the week. There's no other game to rush home to. You can relax, right? There's, there's some local action, but not until 7, so you got time. So be safe. It is the Gregor Show, is always presented by playalberta.ca, where you can use the promo code Gregor, and you'll get a free $50 play at playalberta.ca. As we go in the room now, brought to you by Action Electrical, where they always recommend you take action on your savings. You can do that right now, because did you know that you can get up to a 30% tax rebate on any commercial solar installation? IPS. Learn more at actionelectrical.net. As we are joined by former NHLer, ace analyst on TSN, also color man on the Senators broadcasts, Jamie McLennan joins us. Noodles, how are you, my man?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
I am pretty good. So we're going to touch on Ottawa and Toronto because, of course, you see both fairly regularly, and the Oilers are going to see both of them here in Saturday and Tuesday. The Leafs without Matthews, he's not even practicing. This was initially day to day, and now it's 5 games, and no sign of him coming back. This is obviously a bigger issue than what they think. And how do you think the Leafs have fared without him?
I mean, they're 4-1. I think they squeaked out one against Washington, the other night, where they pretty much had no life, and then all of a sudden came to life for about 7 minutes and won the game, and Washington fell apart. But that being said, when you're 4-1, you don't criticize wins. So, Mitch Marner's played well. William Nylander's played well. I think their system has been a little bit tighter, so it's protecting the goalies. The goaltender, Anthony Stolarz, has played really well. He's had a great start to his career for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So the group is rounded out nicely. But, anytime you take a Matthews, a McDavid, that type of top-tier talent out of your lineup has to adjust. And that's exactly what they've done. But, you mentioned the Matthews injury. It is more concerning because, with McDavid, we saw the injury. You saw it. You're like, okay, he tweaked his ankle, whatever happened there. And, he's able to recover very quickly. And maybe the prognosis wasn't as bad. With Matthews, we have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
So, they keep saying, well, hopefully he can have it behind him and he'll be 100% and it won't be an issue moving forward. Well, okay, that's the case, but he missed a game of the playoffs last year. What was that? And he wouldn't talk to the media about it. So there is some secrecy about it, and I think that's what's concerning for Toronto Maple Leafs fans. Is like, okay, they play 3 games, I think, in 13 days. So even if he misses the next 3, he's got 2 more weeks to clear whatever he's got ailing him up. But it's more about, is a month from now, if he's back playing, is something going to flare back up? Is there an issue that could be reoccurring? That's what's concerning big picture for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Jamie McLennan joins us. On paper, everybody's like, hey, their defense is better. And I don't think there's any debate on that, Jamie. And, you mentioned Marner and those guys without Matthews are playing well. For the Leafs, I was looking at their numbers, and every year over the last 4 seasons, their offensive totals as a group go down significantly in the playoffs compared to the regular season. Are they built to not have the offensive drop in your eyes?
I want to say, yes and no. Okay, so here's what, yes, they're built to not have the drop off because your top players have to play better at critical times. So what you're banking on is that you get a healthy William Nylander because he had the migraines in the playoffs. Austin Matthews, who has 1 goal in his last, I believe, 10 playoff games. You hope that he snaps out of that. And, watching the Oilers go to the finals last year, if you're a player, you're trying to envision, hey, maybe we can do that. So I think it's all about their top players.
Yeah.
That being said, do they have more depth? You dig into the numbers daily. They get nothing from their fourth line. Steven Lorentz has 3 goals. He's a decent player, but I think every team's got a Steven Lorentz, and really the third line, you look at that Winnipeg Jets third line, those guys have 10 to 15 points each right now.
Yeah.
And I would think the third line of the Toronto Maple Leafs be lucky to have 15 points collectively. So it's, I think depth is going to be challenging. I don't know if I kind of feel like they missed Pacioretty more than they thought they would. Here's a guy who was on a PTO and actually looked really good settling in with John Tavares, kind of in that second, third line type of situation. And now all of a sudden you're plugging and playing guys that, aren't a threat nightly. And, that's what they're going to need is more scoring from their depth, a more balanced attack if you're going to have a deep playoff run. Because as we know, we watched to the finals. Yes, it's going to be Reinhart and Barkov and McDavid and Draisaitl, but you needed key production from guys who are farther down in the lineup to give you a critical goal here or there. And I think that's where the Leafs will be searching for that, or, those are the questions that need to be answered in April.
Jamie McLennan joins. Do you think Marner's going to re-sign in Toronto?
I don't know. He's such a polarizing guy. And I guess my question would be to anybody who, challenges it, especially in this Toronto market, is you've got to go and replace that player. Now, everyone says that money is currency, which it is 100%. Having that cap hit is the currency. But where are you going to get 95 to 100 points and a guy who's creative, a guy who's going to play on the Four Nations Cup? Like, he's a top tier right winger in the league. So, to replace that, maybe it's by committee. Maybe you allocate the money somewhere else. I don't know. But I think that's the biggest fear for the Toronto Maple Leafs of losing him is, what does life look like without him? Now, that being said, he controls his own destiny too. I would think that if the Toronto Maple Leafs were left to do something with him, they probably would have done something, whether that's a trade or re-sign him. But I feel like right now he holds all the cards, and he might hold their feet to the fire and say, I'm going to play this out and see what this season looks like and see if I want to sign here long term. So, and I can make an argument for both sides, but I could see if push came to shove, them moving away from him just based on, him choosing that and all saying, right, maybe the grass is greener on the other side, and maybe I'm going to go get $13 million from somebody else.
Well, that was my next question. Is, do you think anybody would pay him $13 million? Like, he's a small winger who's not physical and doesn't score goals.
Yeah, but he is a point producer. He's would you call him a line driver? I think he gets overshadowed with Matthews, but the other night in Washington, he drives things. Like, I think he's a sneaky player. Okay. He's good on the penalty kill, plays on every situation. Again, like, he's a top tier player. I've watched him play every night. He's unique because you're right. He's small-ish, but he's not like 5'8" smallish. I just think that the game, he looks slight out there, but he's not. And he's not a physical guy, but boy, he's smart. And he makes everybody around him better. Ask Matthew Nyes, because Matthew Nyes wasn't a point producer in college. He's not this prolific scorer, but boy, he looks good with Marner and Matthews because, Marner gives him looks where he can do some damage. And to me, that's where, I think, Artem, like Panarin, for example. Panarin's a unique player, not a big guy. He's a winger, kind of hides during the game, and all of a sudden he's got this lethal shot or a lethal play. I'm not comparing them directly, but I'm more comparing like how they go about their game. Because Panarin isn't front and center sometimes, but all of a sudden you're like, man, that was a special play, or that was a great shot. With Marner, he may not be front and center, or he may be overshadowed by Matthews or Nylander right now, but some of his plays are quite amazing. So I don't know if he'll get 13, but you get as much as somebody's willing to pay. So,
yeah,
there might be a team out there that goes, geez, I'll take him for 13 I've got cap space, or I'll move a player out to find cap space for him because he can be a difference maker.
Jamie McLennan joins us at Oilers in Toronto on Saturday. Then they'll be in Montreal Monday, Ottawa on Tuesday. Quickly, Noodles to the Habs, and like, they can't defend. Like, they're you know what? I know they went with a lot of young guys and stuff, but it just, it doesn't work. Now I've heard some rumblings that maybe Arbor Jakai is somebody they're considering trading. I'm like, I'd have lots of time for that guy. Like tough, decent, and defensemen like that are going to look worse on bad teams. I have no doubt in my mind. And I just look at Montreal and I'm kind of, they're rebuilding with youth and small youth. And I'm not sure that's a great combo. I'm confident that's not a good combination.
It's not, but watching them play live and recently, it's funny because you're right. They've got Lane Hudson, who's not, he's more like the Quinn Hughes build, right? He's lanky and really quick with his feet, but he's not going to overwhelm anybody physicality. Their D, I like their D. You're right. They're just young. They've got David Savard there, Mike Matheson, as veterans to try and help them out. I would argue, though, their forwards are out to lunch. And like, listen, I'm a goalie hugger.
Yeah.
And, I always defend the goalies first. And, I could easily say, you know what, Montreal, young defense, man, they're terrible. And you're right, they can't defend. But I watched them play against the Toronto Maple Leafs the other day, and every puck that ended up in the back of their net was a defender was trying to help out, but it was the forwards that were making such poor decisions that weren't helping the D out.
Right.
So that's what worries me is I hope that Marty St. Louis holds them accountable as far as learning systems, learning to play. And it wasn't like young forwards. It wasn't just, Cole Caulfield. We're talking, Josh Anderson, Nick Suzuki blowing by guys, Brendan Gallagher. Like, to me, as a group, they've got to band together. And it's an ugly season for them right now. They've got to find a way at least to make it competitive. I'd like to see them be an 80-point team. They had 76 last year.
Noodles to Ottawa, where the Oilers will go on Tuesday. Tough one last night. They really dominated Philly. Allmark had a rare night off. I don't think he was very good last night for them at all. The Sens' top four defense has been playing quite well. What do you make of their third pair? And is Clevin, I know, is a rookie, skates really well, but that's obviously an area where they need to upgrade, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big argument, and it's funny when you argue about the sixth defenseman. Who should it be? Is it Travis Hamonic? Or is it Jacob Bernard Docker, a 24-year-old Calgary boy? Analytically, it's Bernard Docker. From a, leadership standpoint, it's Hamonic. And they've got Hamonic. Travis Green has Hamonic playing with Clevin. Clevin's a long defenseman, and he reminds me, I think he has better hands, but like a Nicholas Hague. I think he's going to be that type of player. A Carson Soucy, like physical, long stick, make you pay. He's just scratching the surface of what he's capable of. I like him. They like him a lot. I see him as a solid 5 right now with a chance to get into that second pairing as he gets more and more experience. But, I guess the big argument is who's going to play with him. And right now it's Hamonic because they really missed Artem Zub. Artem Zub is a really efficient guy. And if I had a wish list for the for the Edmonton Oilers, it would be Artem Zub. Like that, he would a right shot that would stabilize in that top 4. He would be a guy that would stabilize Nurse. And, to me, that's what you're looking for. They went and got Nick Jensen. Jensen's a really nice player, but their top 4 are mobile, they're physical, and they advance the puck, and they got, good offensive instincts, especially on the left side with Sanderson and Shabbat. So you're right. It's that third pairing you can circle. But they might surprise you because Clevin is a really solid player, and he's more physical than people think.
Oh, dude, and he skates incredibly well, I find, for a big man. This might be an odd one for you, Noodles. And I get the offensive side. I understand all of it. I look at Norris and Pinto, and just overall responsibility, they might be the 2 best centers on the team. Stützle might be the most talented, but I wonder if they'd ever contemplate putting him on the wing because he just he can't win a faceoff to save his life. And I just wonder if that's something that's ever been considered because, man, Norris and Pinto are pretty solid down the middle.
So Norris has been, I think the key to them having success has been Norris because he's a really smart player.
Yeah.
So you get Norris, and you're right. If you push Stützle to the wing, just early on, he's 22.
Yes.
And, what you do is, I don't think Pinto's a third line player.
I agree.
So you talk about depth down the middle of the ice. If Stützle becomes a superstar and a number 1 centerman, great. But if he doesn't, he can be a superstar on the wing, and you've got Norris there, and then you've got Pinto in the 2 spot, and you could probably put Ridley Gregg in the 3 spot, or Zach Ostapchuk, who's a really nice player, St. Albert boy, he's going to play. And I talked to management there quite a bit. He's going to be a player. It's just a matter of, them finding a spot for him, getting some more experience. But I like the depth of the group. I think, and I do agree. I think once you have that type of depth down the middle, you might be able to, move Stützle around. Keep in mind, Claude Giroux is 36.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be a lifer there. You've got some guys that are pushing through. I will say your nephew is a really nice player for them. He's been a perfect fit. He's a great skater. He's good on the kill. He's got a little bit of offensive flash. I think he learned. I think he learned a lot. I don't know. You can tell me, but I think he learned a lot in Toronto last year. Some of the details of his game. Playing on a playoff team, that type of stuff, being around that every day. But I think he's been a perfect fit in Ottawa. Obviously, I played junior and pro with Travis Green. Travis is a big fan of his, and to me, there's I think there's some chemistry, especially on the kill. Him and Ridley Gregg moving around. He's had some really good chances. Adam Gaudette has been he's been fantastic. Well, he's been great for, he scored 44 goals in the minors last year. So he can score.
Yeah.
Travis Green had him in Vancouver, so he trusts him. So again, you've found some players, and including, Noah, where last year their 4th line were young guys. They were nice players, Parker Kelly, Kastelik, those were guys, but they were just trying to stay in the league.
Yeah.
And to me, now you've got veteran guys farther down in the lineup, and they might have a little bit of found money if David Perron comes back. I saw him skating yesterday. Some personal stuff going on with his family, all of that. So he's missed a lot of time. But that might be, if there's an injury or some depth, like he could come back and really help the group. So there is some depth there. There's some speed. There's some bite. I'm sure you've watched a lot of the games. Like they're a team that's close. They need some consistency within the game.
Yes.
Even last night, they're up 4-2, and the goalie looked like me last night, which is not good. And Linus knew it.
Yeah.
Linus knew it. And you know what? You're not going to have your best game every night. I thought they were going to dig it out of there for them. I mean, the shots were 27-4 at one point.
Oh, I know.
It was, yeah. But I mean, they're a good team. And the Oilers will have their work cut out for them against Ottawa, because Ottawa's good in their own building as well.
Yeah, and it's Edmonton's 3rd game in 4 nights, second half of a back-to-back. I think if they want to go 2-1, the Toronto game and the Montreal games are their best chance. Not that they can't beat Ottawa, but for whatever reason, they don't play very well there. And the Sens will be rested. So, Noodles, hey, buddy, I see you on the broadcast all the time. Your hair looks great. So keep it up. Well, and we'll talk to you again soon, my man.
You don't see the back of it.
No.
Just the front of it looks good.
Well,
the back, there's a big hole in the top of my head. Now. It's embarrassing.
You and Strutty could have like reverse transplants for one another.
I don't know. Strutty, like if I'm in the same breath as Strutty, now I'm in big trouble. Like I've got a full head of hair.
It's true.
He's like hanging on for dear life. He's got Lego head now.
Well, you and Rashog though has secretly have that kind of, as you mentioned, you can hide it in the back, but you see it, and it's like. Who's slowly going to start to see, that ozone hole just, growing in the back more?
Within a year, I'm going to have the toilet bowl on the top. And that's when, I'll be, I'll have to staple something up there. But it's all good right now.
Hey.
I'm face forward on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Just face forward. That's what it is.
That's the best way to go about it. Because you know what? I've noticed on a few TV broadcasts, like Just for Men must be sponsoring a few people now. So it's quite nice.
Wow.
So we'll see.
You know what? I tried to get a dip about 6 months ago, and it didn't go well. You can't go from like slightly gray on the sides to jet black. I look like Jimmy Benning with the Canucks back in the
that
day.
was awesome.
Count Dracula. So it's not good. So I'm letting it go naturally now.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of an ego, it blow to my ego, but it's fine. I mean, I'm 53 years old. I'm not out at Club Malibu or what are some of the bars that we used to go to back in the day in Edmonton? I'm just not there anymore, so I can let it go.
Yeah, all right, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
There you go. That's Jamie McLennan.
You listen to Jason Gregor Show?
We had a little bit of a
Play
bidding
Alberta.
extravaganza here. I think we had 1,400 from Mark, and then we got we had two 1,500 bids. But I'm looking at the timeline, Connor Halley, and I think our Randy came in just a moment after. So he's technically doesn't have it at 1,500. So, but obviously we got a few people interested, which is nice. So we'll update it when we return on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk, elevate your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at the Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture. Plus, save up to $700 off a big screen TV. And get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year, and the Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details.
Oodle Noodle origin. In 1864, Francis Oodle took over his dying father's business as a leatherman. He was quite proficient, but his heart was never truly in the trade. After his father's death, Oodle met a cocksure young man named Vladimir Nudell, who was a trailblazer in the popular new art of food boxes. They formed a partnership and aimed to ply their trade in the new world. At Ellis Island, Nudell was renamed David Noodle, and henceforth, the franchise has been known as Oodle Noodle.
Find the perfect tractor for any job at Edmonton Kubota. Their massive selection of compact tractors has something for everyone, whether you're tackling small tasks or big projects. And right now, take advantage of 0% financing for up to 72 months. It's never been easier to get the power and reliability you need. Come down to Edmonton Kubota today and drive away with a tractor that's just right for you. Edmonton Kubota, where your perfect tractor awaits.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
At Cross Mitsubishi, our legendary warranty is going even further.
Right now, upgrade to a 10-year, 200,000-kilometer bumper-to-bumper warranty on your new Mitsubishi.
Cross Mitsubishi will pay $1,000 towards your warranty upgrade, making it easier than ever to drive with confidence.
Visit Cross Mitsubishi today and secure your extended protection. 9605 34th Ave and at crossmitsubishi.ca.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
portions of this hour brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. The Canada-wide clearance is on now at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on a 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
.530, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Juan Congrats with you, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. We had a little bit of a bidding extravaganza going on as Mark came in at 1,600, Dan at 17, and now Cons, where are we at?
We are up to 2,000 now with Bruce.
Bruce. I like it. Hey, they call me Bruce. Sick. If my name is Bruce, I would do that often.
Make big bids.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But they call me Bruce. You know, have a shirt. Nice. I like it. 833-401-1440. And it is Positive Friday. That's a great day. So $2,000 right now for the loge seats, for them for the boss, Bruce Springsteen, next Tuesday. He hasn't been in Edmonton since 2003. This might be your last chance to see him live. And a nice table for 4, a lot of space. You got a server comes to you. It's pretty good. Let's get to the oil report brought to you by VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. They are Canada's #1 Volvo dealership. And right now, Black Friday pricing is on 0% financing on all the 2025 XC90s and the XC90 plug-in hybrids at VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. As we welcome to the show, the host of the Lowdown, noon to 2 on Sports 1440, Alan Mitchell. LT, how you doing?
I'm very well. It's Friday. The weekend is here. We still don't really have winter, but we did get a little moisture, and we needed that. So it's a good day overall.
Yeah, it was a good night last night for Oiler fans, for the Oiler players. Kind of a fairy tale 1,000 point, a goal for McDavid, assists from his two buddies who came in at the same time, and Draisaitl and Nurse. And then the trio hooks up again in overtime, and Darnell Nurse finishes off a 3-point night on McDavid's 1,000 point night.
Yeah, it was. I mean, everything about McDavid's dad's there, and he's excited. And if you go back to 2015, I remember the orientation camp. I went down there. It was open to the public. I go down and I watch this individual skate by in a blur, and I'm like, what was that? It was Connor McDavid. And they sort of have been connected to each other as the heart of the order, Nurse, Draisaitl, and obviously McDavid since then. And it's been tough. Like, it's been, there have been great highlights, but I think that was one of the times that over the last almost decade where they really could just, enjoy the moment and celebrate with everybody. And, we all hope that, I think everybody in Edmonton hopes that the Oilers, this version of the Oilers, win the Stanley Cup. It's so hard to do it. But I think no matter what happens this year, that was a great moment and one that'll be remembered for a long time.
Oh, fantastic moment. No question about it. And, something they'll see again next year in Leon Draisaitl when he gets his point 1,000. We'll see if McDavid can come up with a good of a chirp shirt as Draisaitl did for McDavid. That's fantastic stuff. Guys are loving that.
Oh, man, that was classic. It's too bad that Leon didn't play Nashville 3 more times because he could get to 1,000 this year if he did.
Yeah, well, that's actually very true. It's crazy how much they dominate the Nashville Predators. Now they go on the road, Toronto, who is 4-1 without Matthews. Their last game, though, they basically played 7 really good minutes and managed to get the win in overtime against Washington. But, as great as the storyline was last night, it's fantastic. We've talked about McDavid all week long, so it's not like I'm pushing it past, but it's done now. They move on. And the one thing that's still hindering this team is their scoring, their inability to finish off their chances. And, as Craig said, you can talk process all you want, but if you only focus on the process and not the final 10%, which is the result, well, then you're in trouble. And they got some guys who got to get more result. Like, I watched some scoring chances last night that just evaporated. It'll be deemed a high scoring chance, but it was a low scoring shot, which makes it a meh chance. And to me, that's their issues right now. Like, they were hitting him in the chest where there was corners open and guys weren't hitting them.
Yeah, it's, and here's the thing. I remember you talking about this maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. There is a point, like the experts tell me 20 games. You got to wait for 20 games. But, there is a point you reach where you go, okay, well, you're getting the shots, you're getting the chances, but they're not cashing. And we're well into the season now. And, it's the left wingers, Nuge, Hyman, Skinner, Skinner, and Arvidsson, I guess, on the right side, and Hyman as well. Those cats aren't scoring, and they need to. And it's not just one player. It seems like the skill lines are getting some results from the centermen, from Draisaitl and McDavid, but they have to get some results, and it's not just like, oh, he scored 2 tonight. They have to be productive. The road trip might help them, honestly. They usually play well in Toronto as a team, and maybe Hyman, who is one of my favorite Oilers they've ever signed as a free agent, maybe he'll get going in Toronto.
LT, what would you put on the chances? How many points are they going to get in this road trip, the 3 games?
I think they'll get 4. I think they'll win 2 and lose 1. It'll be a stub toe against Ottawa or something. I think they could go 3-0. They're certainly talented enough. And, the thing that I looked at, the encouraging thing for me is that Nurse Kulak is a really solid second pair when they need it. Now, they don't have to play together all the time, but and we don't really worry about Ekholm Bouchard, but that gives them an opportunity. You don't want to play them too much, but it gives them an opportunity to tighten up a little bit, and that has been a problem. Now, they're still, the last few wins, they score a bit, they get ahead, they lose focus a little bit, then they score a bunch more, and then they lose focus at ties. They win in overtime or close to. You want to tighten that up even more. But this coaching staff, I will give them credit. They are finding a way here. It is slow but sure, but they've got a little bit of a winning streak here. And if they could go 3-0 on that, if they could win in Ottawa and Montreal and Toronto, then we're talking about a pretty nice November here. I don't know that that'll happen, but I'll say 2-1-0.
Yeah, the Ottawa game's the toughest one, I think, simply because it's 3rd and 4 nights, second back-to-back against a team that's playing pretty well. So it doesn't mean you can't win, but if you look at it, that's the one where it shapes up as the most challenging to win. What would you do for your goalie rotation?
Well, I think you play Skinner tomorrow night, and then you rotate. There's no reason. There's just no earthly reason for them to not, play Pickard, one of every 3, or if it's a tight quarters, 1 on, 1 off. He's playing well, and I think Pickard's playing well. I think Skinner's playing well. There's a lot of people who are upset about Skinner, and look, I understand he's not at 100%, but I don't think there should be a goalie controversy. Both of the guys are playing well enough. Everybody has an up and down, and this team is kind of still figuring it out in terms of defense, but 5-on-5 is improving. The penalty kill is, it has to get better, and goaltending is a part of that. But I would rotate them. I'd give Skinner 2 starts, and I'd give 1 to Pickard.
Oh, yeah. So you're going Skinner. Are you going Skinner Saturday, Monday, or Saturday, Tuesday?
Saturday. I say Saturday, Tuesday.
See, I'd go Saturday, Monday. I go with my starter in that Montreal game because I want to ensure I want to give myself the best chance for 2 points. And then, hey, Calvin Pickard, you know what? Maybe you can stand on your head and steal us a game. Well,
they're in a good spot. Like the there was a time where not too long ago you were like, holy mackerel, man, they're heaving a little bit. Well, that's sort of turned around. They've been a little bit better here. They started 0-3-0, and they're better since. And they do have opportunities to tinker a little bit. And the one thing I wonder about on this team, you talk about the goaltender rotation. I wonder if Dermott is playing enough to justify a roster spot.
Yeah. Well, what would you do? Like, would you carry 13 forwards, or would you carry?
No, I mean, like maybe you I don't know that Josh Brown's earned it or whatever, but I just feel like if you're not playing for that long, are you sort of rusty? Does the coaching staff still think you can jump in and do it?
I don't know. That's a fair question. The one thing, the more I watch the orders, though, it's clear they got to add some size to their forward group come playoff time. They got way too many small guys.
Kane will help, but you're right, and I think we're seeing this team a little better now, and they've got some veterans who are struggling. I worry about Nuge a little bit. Skinner's in the doghouse a bit, but they do need a robust group because, as you know, the rules change in the playoffs, and that's why Kane is like. I mean, I think it's wise for them to just give him as much time as possible because you need him even if he plays like 15 games of the regular season, you need him for the playoffs. That's when he most often or is most useful. So, but I agree. They need. I would like to see them ideally get a really a right-handed center with a little bit of edge who can win faceoffs and play third, fourth.
Yeah, I think they need a few forwards, to be honest. I think they got like 4 or 5 smaller guys who are slight, not overly physical, and I don't think that's an ideal formation come playoff time. So I think the forward group you see today, Al, I won't be surprised to see 2, possibly 3 different ones. Now, Kane's obviously going to be one, but I think I could see one.
Do you see Podkolzin out or Podkolzin?
No, Podkolzin. He's big, can skate, can kill penalties. I like a lot of them. Like just because he's playing in the top 6, but he's not a top 6 player yet. So I don't get mad at him for not producing at a level that I don't think he's capable of producing. But I think like if Evander Kane was healthy, Podkolzin would be on your third line, and or your fourth line. Everybody would be like, okay, everything's fine. So I don't worry about that.
Let me ask you. Derek Ryan would be one of the players out. And
yes.
Who else?
Derek Ryan. Well, I won't be surprised if I could see the way he's playing. I could see Jeff Skinner being out.
Yeah, I think that's like. I mean, can you trade him?
Well, he has a no movement clause, so it would be hard. But guys with no movement clause have been dealt before, so you can figure it. The GM who's near now wasn't the GM who signed him. There's your easy argument. There's your easy way to say, well, hey man, sorry, I didn't sign you that contract.
Yeah. I mean, I do like Arvidsson. I wish he wasn't hurt. I do like him.
I think he'll be fine. Yeah, like he's supposed to play tomorrow, so. That should be all right.
Yeah, and then you've got Kane coming back, and then Perry doesn't have to play every night in the playoffs. Although I just really like what he does on the offense. I mean, he's a smart player, man.
Very smart player, 100%.
Yeah.
Al, have a great weekend, my man. We'll chat with you on Monday.
All right, Blue Bombers going to win the Grey Cup. However, everybody's okay with that.
No, yeah. Well, I think that most of you are in agreement with that for sure. It's too bad that Kelly got injured because otherwise, I think it'd be a really close game. This one might.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, boys, be good.
Thanks. We'll come back. We'll sort it out. We're currently sitting at $2,000. Cons like to call the people that bid, give them one last chance. So be answering your phone if you're in on the bid for the Springsteen tickets here. 833-401-1440. Actually, we'll be calling you right now on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love: better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade: safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at The Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining room furniture. Plus, save up to $700 off a big screen TV and get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year and The Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details.
Cross Mitsubishi rolls into winter with the hottest financing available. 0% financing.
2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross starts at $26,898 plus tax. A 2024 RVR starts as low as $22,098 plus tax.
Mitsubishi Outlander rolls out as low as $35,498 and tax. 2025 PHEV Outlanders start at just $40,498 plus tax. Get into a Mitsubishi Mirage starting at $16,848 and tax.
Visit Cross Mitsubishi and drive your ambition. 9605 34th Avenue and crossmitsubishi.ca.
A career in the public service is better in Alberta. Better wages, lower taxes, better job opportunities with our thriving economy, better chances for advancement, plus a better future with new investment in healthcare and education. Public service, it's better here. Learn more and discover new career opportunities in the public sector at alberta.ca/betterhere. A message from the Government of Alberta.
Albertans are always on the go for work, for play, and from downtown to wide open spaces. Nobody keeps Albertans moving like Dedham Ford. They've delivered the service and value buyers want for over 65 years. Now, for a limited time, enjoy cash savings up to $16,000 or rates as low as 0% during Dedham Ford's Black Friday blowout. Keep life moving courtesy of where cars always cost less. Dedham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at dedhamford.ca.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I want to talk to you about your roof. Actually, I'm talking about the roof on your house. If your roof were to spring a leak, how soon would you want to fix it?
Pretty much the instant you discover it, Rick.
That's right, Bob. The damage it can do to your home is measured in minutes, not weeks. But if you have a leak in your RV while it's stored away for the winter, this can lead to catastrophic problems because you wouldn't even know what's happened until spring with months of damage already done.
Manufacturers recommend a roof assessment at least every year.
Right again, Bob. That's why Noble RV offers free roof assessments every fall. We'll climb up there and check the condition of your RV's roof and give you a detailed report in writing. That way, you'll know if your RV is ready for another harsh northern Alberta winter. It's a free service we provide, and it could save you thousands in repair costs down the road.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meat, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Golf. Portion of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. The team in Old Strathcona has special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis, from lymphedema to the management of fatigue and side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. They can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com.
Oh, man. People are making Cons put in the work here. We're up to 2750 now, and Cons got everybody on the line. So, hey, we'll try to get it sorted out before the show ends, but I love it. It's fantastic. Hey, man, let everybody know when it's for charity. Edmontonians and surrounding area, you guys are beauties. I love it. So thanks for this. So Cons is just, I can just see him now, eh? Wanye, he's just, you see him in his glory. We'll see if you can turn your mic on at the same time. We'll get Declan maybe to turn on the mic as Con. There we go. So nice.
here right now.
He
He is
buddy.
cooking in the lab.
Oh, buddy, this is just like, yeah, he's working the lines. Hold on, back and forth. And, oh, it's fan. We should video when the con man is doing all the calls there. So I like it.
All-time anxiety going on right here. But congratulations to Bruce, 2750.
Bruce has it at 2750. Attaboy, Bruce. Does he have the shirt? They call me Bruce. You should. So Bruce is going to see Bruce. I like it.
Double Bruce.
Double Bruce.
Heavy duty.
That. Thank you so much, Bruce. That's fantastic. Thanks to Mark and Randy for help bidding it up. That's great. So that's a fantastic day. We love it. On behalf of Wanya Gretz, Connor Halley. What's the score tomorrow, Wanya?
Oof. 3-0.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A shutout.
Shutout.
For Skinner.
Yep.
Oh, all right. Okay. That caught me off guard. I like it. On behalf of Connor Halley, Wanya Gretz, I'm Jason Gregor. Have yourselves a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy it, boxing fans tonight, MMA fans, big heavyweight match tomorrow. Serrano on the boxing card. She's pretty good. You might want to watch her if you're waiting for the main event. So check that out. Of course, Oilers Saturday, Grey Cup Sunday, NFL. It's a great weekend. Be safe. Please don't drink and drive. Let's get to the Command Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter. LegacyHeating.ca. Good night.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
5 games on the ice tonight in the NHL. After 20 minutes, the Jackets lead the Penguins 2-1. Later, you got the Caps, Avs, Flames, Preds, the Golden Knights in Utah, and the Ducks hosting the Red Wings, the Oilers in action tomorrow, taking on the Leafs.